Audio test. Audio looks good on my side. How's it sound over there? Wait for a few people to get in here before I start chatting too much. Audio test. Audio looks good on my side. How's it sound over there? The link out to X. Wait for a few people to get in here before I start chatting too much. And Blue Sky. Oh, better paste that link. Audio test. Audio looks good on my side. Get the link out to X. Wait for a few people to get in here before I start chatting too much. And Blue Sky. Oh, better paste that link. Audio test. Audio looks good on my side. One more link to go out here. The link out to X. Wait for a few people to get in here before I start chatting too much. And Blue Sky. Paste that link. Audio test. Audio looks good on my side. One more link to go out here. Oh, you got the echo? Shoot. Wait for a few people to get in. There. Now it should be gone. Test it out now. Audio good. Yeah, so the problem this time, I left the audio on my, so I can watch the live chat here. I left the audio on the actual page. So that's why the reverb was there. So yeah. Okay. How's everybody doing tonight? Already 300 people in the chat. So yeah, the winter hype definitely getting ramped up here. It's all over the news. It's all over Twitter and Blue Sky and social media. And I saw it on TikTok and YouTube and all kinds of that stuff. All the local channels are covering it. Let's see if I can see why my desk is wobbling a bit here. Okay. But yeah, it's starting to look a bit interesting here. You can see the polar lobe is actually taking shape here. It's moving off over the Gulf of Alaska, southeast Alaska right there. But first, we got to go through some rain, but we need it. I mean, how long has it been? It's been at least 2 weeks since we've had measurable rainfall here. Mark Stewart, Western Washington Weather is in the house. Keith Evans. Ryan Voltenleinen is in the house. All right, get some moderators in here. I see some members going on. Checking out the chat here. Yeah, it seems like the majority of people want snow. I should put a poll out here soon. Do you want snow or do you not want snow? Because it seems like there's a fair good chunk of people that don't want anything to do with the snowfall. Are you going to be at the Puyallup Sportsman Show? When is that taking place? That would be kind of interesting. Puyallup Sportsman Show. But I think that most people want some snowfall, kind of mix it up, feel the season for a little bit. You enjoy spring and summer all the more. But I understand it's hard to drive in. It's not the most fun thing to work in at Alaska Airlines as well. You start getting snow on the wing of the planes and things slow down dramatically. And you got to de-ice all these planes. All these delays go out. And then a plane goes out after it's been de-iced and it starts snowing again. You got to bring it back and de-ice it again. And the flight gets canceled because the crew duty time or something like that. And yeah, the runway starts getting covered. So it is challenging. I know if you're in construction or you work for aviation or you're trying to commute and whatnot, it's definitely challenging. But for the most part, I think that many people want the snow. Turn up my volume. Is my volume down? Let's see. This is down a notch here, but I can't get it to register what's going on. Maybe I'll just try it on here. How's the audio sound now, you guys? Can you guys hear me fine? Okay, maybe somebody just had their volume down. Okay. So yeah, let's take a look at the actual. So we're looking at mid-level right here. Let's look at the. I like looking at this one from time to time. You can see just how cold it is across the interior of Alaska, Canada. You can just kind of see the surface. Very cold temperatures out there. Brian Hicks, higher channel support. Thank you very much for the support. Here goes our next frontal system right there. Did you guys see that today as well on my X post? They had, water spouts, like supercellular water spout activity and water spout warnings for Kauai and Oahu that I saw. But yeah, Kona low there, bringing some interesting weather down to Hawaii also. 5x5 audio is good. Yeah, Eastern Oregon has got some interesting stuff coming as well. It depends on how much colder air can work its way down before the moisture starts to stream over the area. And some portions of Montana are just going to get absolutely hammered here. And I should probably start showing some of these models here. When we've got new models we're going to look at here as we go through the live stream tonight, we'll take a look at the new North American model, the new artificial intelligence. The GFS will probably start running here in a bit, probably about another 20, 25 minutes or so. We'll take a look at that. But yeah, we're getting some good model agreement. Things have definitely trended colder here over the last few days. We are looking at better chances of snowfall. And I believe, in fact, I want to check this out. There's my MSN page. I don't know what's showing up on that. Hopefully nothing too racy. And sometimes I like to take a look at here and see what they talk about on the NOAA page itself. Sometimes they have some interesting things here on the Physical Sciences Laboratory, but I'm going to go ahead and check out the National Weather Service Seattle. So I saw that they were putting out some winter storm warnings, and they were putting out some, so we got winter storm warnings for the Cascades, and check it out, interior, including Bellingham. Winter storm watch is in effect. So if I click on Bellingham there, we can check that out. Heavy snow, 2 to 7 inches possible through Monday morning. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some heavy snowfall out of this storm system. The hard part about this is that not everybody is going to see that snowfall. Most people will see flakes at times. How much of that will stick, how much of it is going to accumulate is a much different question. But we do have that potential for some very heavy snowfall amounts. Dan Backcountry, thanks for the generosity. And RM Digit, thanks for the generosity as well. Pendleton, Oregon, pray for snow. We need feet of it out here. Dan's Backcountry. Going to Copalis next Sunday for clam dig. You're welcome to hang if you're interested or if you're about getting your Tesla. If you're going out, I was actually thinking about going out to the ocean because the upper level low, as you can see, you guys see this here? Look what we're looking at. There's a winter storm watch for the Washington coast. That's how close that upper level low, and that's how cold that upper level low is going to be right off the coastline. That's a winter storm watch for the Washington coast. I mean, I don't remember the last time I went out there just specifically to target snowfall. It's usually because of wind or big waves or something crazy like thunderstorms and potential water spouts. There's also winter storm watches for some of the foothill areas as well, and we're going to probably be extending that down to the lower elevations as we go through the day tomorrow. I expect the National Weather Service to be putting out some advisories potentially for Saturday. And look at this, winter storm watch is in effect for the San Juan Islands. Yeah, pretty crazy there. I mean, wild stuff. So that's Friday Harbor and Bellingham. That's the same thing for Bellingham. Okay, so let's see what they put out specifically here for the coastal areas. I'm going to click out near ocean shores there, and let's see what it says. So we've got Aberdeen, Hope, Clearly, Elma, and Sano. 2 to 9 inches possible Saturday evening through Monday morning. So on the coast, man, you guys are going to get a treat out of this. And there is heavy snow potential elsewhere, including Southwest BC. And eventually there may be chances for the Seattle Metro and the Portland Metro, some of the Willamette Valley as well. But again, that's pretty wild looking here. That winter storm watch for the Washington coast is up. Winter storm warning for the Cascades. I mean, 30 inches of snowfall, anybody, 40 miles per hour, just absolutely crazy stuff. This is just to 4 p.m. on Saturday, and there's potentially more coming after that. We're going to rise the snow levels up a little bit on Friday afternoon, then they're going to come crashing down on Friday night. And there'll be no doubt it'll be all snow across all the passes as you go through Friday night. So, yeah, fun stuff. I'll get me catch up on the chat a little bit here. Washington Weather Chasers. Oh, so there's a new good thread on X. That's Ben Yurkovich. There's Facebook page, Washington Weather Chasers. Very popular there north of Seattle. Western Washington weather. Ben. Okay, let's see what's going on here. So we got 78% of normal. Steven. Oh, yeah, I haven't looked at that in a couple of days, but I saw that the Washington Cascades have fallen behind normal for the snowpack. That's true. Snow quality pass tomorrow. We'll post updates. Yeah, we need chasers up there. North Central Cali weather looks nuts too. Yeah, big atmospheric river coming for portions of California. Big flooding potential. Some of the models showing in excess of a foot of rain. That's not snow, that's rain. App seeing highs in the 40s for Everett Sunday, Monday. I wouldn't be counting on that, especially on Monday. It's going to be cooling down. In fact, we'll look at some of that here in a moment. In fact, let's look at this. Let me just show you some of the stuff that's being shown here. So, and man, I wish weather bell's kind of tricky there. So if we take a look at the European, as we go through Monday and Tuesday, look at these highs. You're only in the 30s Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. That's for Seattle. Overnight lows into the mid-20s, maybe down into the teens. If things line up just right, you could drop down into the teens for some areas. GFS deterministic. This is for Seattle, Tacoma again. And we might have one or two of these days where we're struggling to get above freezing. Again, if things line up just correctly. A lot of times you need active snow to be following or some kind of cloud cover going on to keep the daytime highs from getting above freezing, especially if you get on in towards February here. So again, very cold overnight lows though coming. Potential for snow in the Seattle area, yes. Right now, it's still on the lower end of things, but you never know when some of these convergent zone activities, or you're going to get a deformation band, which is as the low pressure is pulling away, it may be bringing some of the northerlies down and still throwing some moisture back up across Seattle. So that's always a potential. Is that winter storm watch officially affect Covington too? Yeah, man, you guys are catching me trying to play catch up a little bit here, but let's click on that a little bit closer and let me take a look here. I'll click on the foothill areas there. Let's see. So we got, yeah, Covington, Sawyer, Prairie Ridge, Maple Valley, Enumclaw, Bonnie Lake, 2 to 7 inches, East Puget Sound lowlands. It's just through Monday morning, and then you could get more as we go through next week. So again, yeah, you can clearly see what's coming here, folks, on the GFS, for example. 18 is the European. I briefly went over this, but I'll just play it through here. We'll take a look at the polar lobe. It's pretty close right here as we go through the day Sunday, and that's why the coast is going to get a pretty good shot of snowfall. You can see the upper air trough is very close, very cold air aloft. So the proximity to that upper level low is why the coast is going to get probably some nice snowfalls. And as we go through Monday and Tuesday, as this pivots a bit further south, and we're going to bring that colder air down, start to throw some moisture back up over the top of that. And yeah, we'll see what is going to happen there. But that's why I'm going to check out the artificial intelligence model. It's been showing some interesting solutions as well. We're going to check out that here in a moment also. Are we still? I thought the king tides were over. I have not looked. I thought that the main king tides were done mid-January there. Yeah, if it snows on Saturday, I want to be careful when I say stuff like this. I don't want to just promise that the snow is going to melt, because if you're getting convergence zone activity, you're still going to have wet and slushy roads, and they're probably going to get refreezing as you go through maybe Sunday night and on into Monday and Tuesday. Things are going to be refreezing, and there'll be additional snow showers. So I would definitely, use caution. Don't just think that things are going to thaw out as you go through the day Saturday, because you could get multiple rounds of showers on Saturday also. Okay, checking the chat here for a minute. Let's see. Yeah, it's fair. I mean, you'll get snow on the coast sometimes, but it's fairly rare. You're right next to the Pacific Ocean, which is a relatively warm body of water. It's tough to get those surface temperatures just to the right temperature. What will snow out on the coastline, but bringing a lot of Arctic air aloft, or very cold air aloft, will do it. That'll bring that snow level right down to the surface there, even out towards the coastal areas. This weekend on alert, king tides coming through the weekend. I live on Vashon. Okay, so is it going to snow in Mount Rainier? Chance of snow for Mount Rainier is 100% coming up here. And now I want to check the 18Z. So, okay, it is loading here. Man, the European artificial intelligence is always the last model to load. pretty good agreement. You can see how the upper level low pinwheels down off the coastline there, then pulls away. What does it do after that? Man, it just bounces right back across the region there. That'll be interesting as that ejects across. Then what happens? We do get another swipe, maybe from some kind of another chilly upper level low coming down across the region. Then it looks like a Pacific storm comes in right underneath that as we go through the extended forecast, looking a little bit too far out there. But what we're going to do here is we're going to go to Pacific Northwest. I'm going to take a look at the short term here and take a look at what is going on. Maybe I should do this. So we're going to go there and we're going to bounce out to there and we're going to put that down. Oops. Okay, so I'm messing up here. Let's go back to artificial intelligence right here. And we're going to zoom in. I should have prepared this beforehand, but I was falling behind. So we're going to go to, we'll go to surface wind speed here because I want to see when the wind, see if I can grab that one now. Okay, there we go. Is that going to let me do it? No, I haven't mastered this yet, so bear with me. Okay, here we go. Now close that out. And what I'm going to do is have the European artificial intelligence on the left versus it on the right as well. So we'll go to multi-parameter and we'll go here and we'll close that down. So now we're going to compare what the surface winds are doing versus what is going on with some of this precipitation. And why don't I also bring back up, I'm making this hard on myself here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to move this over here and I'm going to go to, but yeah, thanks for everybody for joining the chat. How many people are in the chat currently? I can't actually see that right now, but I'm about to be able to see you guys chat here in a second. If I go ahead and do that. Thanks for the generosity, you guys, for bringing those super chats in here. 950, very nice. You're probably going to see some snowfall for many areas, but the tricky thing here is that some people are going to get hammered with some pretty decent snowfall amounts. As you saw, we have winter storm watches for the coast, Bellingham, San Juans, foothills of the Cascades, including places like Enumclaw, Covington, and all the Cascades are underneath winter storm warning right now. So we're going to do this real quick here. We're going to go to favorites and we're going to go to NOAA and we're going to go back to this PC and we're going to close that out and we're going to go back to the main page. So you can kind of see winter weather advisories are in place for eastern Washington as well. Winter storm warnings for the Oregon Cascades. If I zoom in on Portland, you'll also see we got winter storm watch for the coastal range. And I don't want to leave areas out north here. We're going to go off to the east of Everett and take a look at this winter storm watch and see what cities it includes. Woodinville, Prairie Ridge, Maple Valley, Menor, Enumclaw. Okay, so did they cut it off right there? I don't see them leaving some of those areas up. So, okay. I'll click a little bit further north and see what this brings. That's the same one here. Okay, we're not going to worry about that too much. We're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. But okay, now let's take a look at what is coming up here. So the artificial intelligence, the European. So I'm going to put this into motion. There's the system coming through tonight and tomorrow. And then again, the upper level low that's going to be coming. We're really going to be rushing that cold air in on the day Saturday. You can see how we're going to be dealing with the showery weather rolling across the region here. Arctic air is hung up across British Columbia. And then we start to bring this upper level low down the coastline there. Arctic air starts to get closer as we go through the day Sunday. So we're still spinning moisture back up into the region, but we're going to go to Sunday afternoon here as far as surface winds now. So there's Saturday. We're going to Sunday. You'll still see things are southerly all the way up towards southwest BC, but we're starting to get the north wind down across British Columbia. So where those winds converge, you're going to get convergent zone activity here. You're not talking about some kind of a terrain feature like Vancouver Island or wrapping around the Olympic Mountains, but you're still getting convergence here right across southwest BC. So you're going through the day Sunday. There's probably going to be measurable snowfall and possibly disruptive snowfall on the day Sunday as this Arctic boundary is starting to spill out into the lower terrain, and you're still getting the southerlies, strong low-level convergence, very cold air aloft, and this is easily going to bring the snow level down to the surface for measurable snowfall. So let's go on into Sunday night now. Go ahead. There we go. Okay, so you can kind of see the wind's picking up there right across southwest BC, and they start to turn northeasterly very early on Monday morning. So if we look on Monday morning, you'll still see those showers going on. Definitely cold enough to snow, and probably cold enough to snow starting to get down in towards northern Puget Sound and down towards the central sound here as well. And we go on in through Monday morning, you see the wind start to turn out of the north, but also the precipitation starts to cut off a little bit there. So we're getting the north winds down the sound. Fraser River Valley still gusting, east winds across some of the Strait of Juan de Fuca. You can see the northerly winds across eastern Washington, very cold air being ushered in. But the precipitation is starting to cut off as we go on in through the day Monday. However, you got to watch for this wave here. Look at this start to trend northward, and that could bring snow even back up towards the Puget Sound. Another band. This would be some very heavy and disruptive snowfall across eastern Oregon, Washington. Look at that Arctic front moving down into northern Oregon, engulfed eastern Washington with this Pacific moisture riding back across the region. And then this is going to move even across portions of Idaho and western Montana as well. Absolutely huge amounts of snowfall are going to fall for some lucky people out across eastern Washington underneath this scenario. Because again, north winds, Arctic air, moisture riding over that Arctic air, and potentially even reaching back towards places like Portland and Seattle. It would still be marginal right now because you're still getting southerlies up the Willamette Valley. But for western Washington, if this moisture starts to move back up, you're going to be getting some light snowfall that would be sticking. Not most likely, it would be sticking in the lower elevations at that point. So we scroll on in through Tuesday morning. We're now through Tuesday late morning. There's Tuesday afternoon. Again, north winds in place. Still a bit squirrely here across the Willamette Valley. We haven't got Arctic air down there as the low pressure is right off the coast. But again, look at the north winds extending all the way down across eastern Oregon also. So if we scroll on in through Tuesday late morning, Tuesday afternoon, again, that Arctic boundary here is going to be somewhere right down across portions of Oregon, snowfall continuing. And look at this, the upper level low is still spinning off the coastline here. This continue to produce some snowfall for the Oregon and the Washington coast, again, in the form of snow. And that's probably another reason why, well, this isn't why the winter storm watch is up right now, but this is why I'm watching the coast, because this upper level low is going to be producing some of this precipitation as we go all the way on and through Wednesday afternoon there. So Wednesday afternoon, where are we here? So offshore wind really encompasses much of the Pacific Northwest at this time. Fraser River outflow continues Wednesday afternoon. Pretty chilly here across the region. And the upper level low is somewhere still off the coastline. You can see the surface low right here, California, and you can see the associated precipitation. So we start to march ahead a bit more and look at, man, this has bad news written all over it, you guys. Again, the European Artificial Intelligence took a little bit of break from this system as we go on in through the midweek period. But this is the Arctic boundary just hung up right across western Washington, western Oregon. And I'm going to put this into motion. So where are we here? We're Thursday late morning. Look at these east winds ripping through the gorge, covering western Washington, Willamette Valley, cold air at the surface, overriding Pacific moisture. This is a pretty significant freezing rain event for the Portland Metro, some of the Willamette Valley. And then let me scroll over here. And then as this moves northbound, this is probably producing snow at this point across western Washington. Low pressure spinning right there. And again, does not move north that fast. So you're not going to get a lot of moderation across portions of western Washington, and especially further north through Bellingham and southwest BC. So we'll scroll out to Friday morning here and look at still the east winds going Friday morning. Late Friday morning, still easterly winds. That would still probably be some snowfall for the central Puget Sound. So there's several different scenarios where a place like Seattle could get snowfall, Portland freezing rain, and a lot of the areas are going to have off and on snowfall threat, including heavy snowfall for portions of eastern Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, the coast of Washington, coastal range of Oregon, and especially across southwest BC and northwest Washington. So now I'm going to catch up on the chat here a little bit more. So I know I just got so many messages rolling in here. Thanks for anybody who's sending the super chats in here that I'm not seeing. Gino Him TH, thanks for the generosity. Scrolling through here a little bit. Okay, what was that question? Thank you from Portland. Your brief mention of freezing rain. Yeah, you guys are under the gun. If the European Artificial Intelligence is right, and it's been very consistent showing this. If you've lived in Portland for a while and you see these east winds roaring through the gorge there, And you see that low pressure spinning precipitation back across the region. Another way we can look at that is by going to surface temperature. So let's go to Fahrenheit, and we're going to scroll out towards, what is that, some point on Thursday morning. And you can see still cold air in place here, and it would be getting reinforced by that lower level flow. And I kind of take these with a grain of salt. This probably would be on the high end. It'd probably be about 30 or 31 at Portland when all this precipitation was falling. So yeah, that's kind of a high-end freezing rain event. And it kind of is catching my attention because I think 6 out of the last 7 runs or 5 out of the last 6 runs have showed a pretty significant event with Pacific moisture running back up over this very cold air. But if we back up here, I'm going to back up to, this is Wednesday night. Let's back up towards Wednesday night here. So there we go, about 0.6Z. Again, cold air is probably going to be in place there. But the better way to really look at this is to go to surface moisture and dew point, because this can kind of give you a better idea of what's going to be going on with actively falling precipitation. Look at these dew points. If you're at 34 Fahrenheit and your dew point's 24, you're going to get big time evaporative cooling, and that is going to plunge the temperature below freezing when the precipitation starts. And look at the dew point there for the Portland Metro on Wednesday night, 22 degrees. So you're easily going to drop below freezing. Depending on how thick the column of cold air is here across Western Oregon, it could start as snowfall if we get enough of that cold air out here. But with those easterlies flowing like that, I mean, it could easily be freezing rain as well. I don't know if Garrett's in here, but he's one of the Oregon specialists here that I talk to a lot and I chase with sometimes. Yeah, there's really no place off limits right now that could potentially see snow. Your odds are going to drop off as you get down towards southwest Oregon and some of the Willamette Valley. Lower chances right now. But I'm telling you, there's big time chances here for, like, when this system is bouncing, this atmospheric river hammering California, once this Arctic air starts pouring down into it, there's going to be some really heavy snowfall potentially across portions of eastern Washington and Oregon. Look as this band bounces back north into Arctic air. I mean, that is going to be several inches of accumulating snowfall, potentially widespread from what? I mean, you could Bend, Oregon, Pendleton, Blue Mountains. You're talking about Tri-Cities, Pullman, up towards Spokane, Idaho, higher terrain. Is Boise going to get in on that action? That is a good question. That's another story. Let me bounce back towards Sunday night here really quickly. And we've still got southerlies here. The northerlies are flowing. There's the Arctic air starting to push down. So it doesn't look like that would initially be snowfall for Boise. But let's push out towards Monday afternoon and see what happens. Still southerly through, let me see, when do the winds turn north? When are we going to get a little bit of a switch up there? Maybe some of that action. Let's see. Yeah, it's tough to say. I'd have to look into some more high resolution stuff as we got closer to that for Boise, Idaho there. Montana firefighter, Missoula specifically snow bowl. Yes, you are going to get some snowfall out there. If you're just tuning in, yeah, portions of Montana, look at this back and forth. So, in fact, we'll back up a little bit more there. There's the Arctic boundary. That's Pacific Ocean moisture streaming in there, atmospheric river for California. And look at this precipitation just flowing into that Arctic air mass across western Montana at times and bouncing around. These are 6-hour chunks I'm going over here, folks. That's a lot of precipitation into extremely cold air. And in the meantime, we're going to have this upper level low that's just absolutely going to be playing games with the Pacific Northwest over and over again as we go on into the early portion of next week. How much precipitation will that be kicking off as that colder air works in? And then this system comes up and pushes itself into a very cold air mass. So yeah, a lot of dynamic weather here coming up. And yes, there's a chance for thunder snow even. So let's take a look at that. So let's take a look at the latest. I have not looked at the NAM 3KM yet. So let's do that together. So here we go. I'm going to embiggen this one. And here we go. Okay, so we got the frontal system rolling in and the polar lobe starts to move down. You can see we got some pretty tight gradients. We're going to get some blustery southerly winds as we go through the day tomorrow, especially across Oregon, Washington, as we usher in this colder air mass. What does this polar lobe do? So here we go. We're about 517. Okay, so as we go through the day Saturday, This is just an absolute conveyor belt of Arctic air across the Gulf of Alaska and off the coast of British Columbia, wrapping back around very cold air aloft, slamming back into Western Washington, Western Oregon, and Southwest BC. So with that cold air aloft, a lot of instability is going to be rolling in here with this as well. So if we go ahead and take a look at severe weather, and we go to surface-based CAPE, as we go through the day Saturday, this is convective available potential energy, thunderstorm fuel here, if you will. And yeah, we are going to have the chance for a lightning strike or two. And I expected to see the SPC to show something about that. Let me bring that up again. We're going to go to favorites, and we're going to go back to the SPC there, and we'll go out here, and we'll go down to thunderstorm tornado outlook. They do have it for day 2 right now. So this includes, I believe this is for Friday morning to Saturday morning. But I expect that, well, I shouldn't even say that because sometimes they just leave the Pacific Northwest out of this, but we're definitely going to have a thunderstorm chance as we go through Saturday also. But you notice they do call us attention to this as we go through the day tomorrow. Now, because the NAM doesn't show it that well, we're going to go to the European, and we're going to back out a little bit here. We're going to go to Oceanic, and we're going to go to Gulf of Alaska. Where are you hiding here? Okay, now we're going to take a look at the upper level temperatures here. That's surface temperatures, upper air. So here we go now. And if on the infrared satellite imagery, you can see this location right here. You can already see that cold air, this polar lobe. It's already starting to emerge out of the Gulf of Alaska here. Now, here we go. This is marching down the coastline, and look at that cold air aloft just absolutely run in there. And then you can see the reinforcing shots with the low pressure system off the coastline as we go on in towards Monday afternoon. We go on through Tuesday. Upper level low is still going to be spinning. Arctic air trying to push down into the region. Wild times coming up here, folks. And then we'll see how cold are we going to get before the next system tries to rush into the Pacific Northwest. And also, let's check that out here as well. Let's see if the European goes out far enough, because I have not done much homework on the 16 or the 18Z run. So let's look at this. So I want to see if the 18Z shows any hint of what is potentially to come as we go. So here we go on in through Sunday. We're into Monday morning. Upper level low is going to be nearby. Pacific moisture bouncing around here could bring some of that back up across Western Washington. And nope, we're not going to be out far enough. But if we could take a look here, let's go to GFS. Let's look at the 18Z GFS. So it goes 144 hours. So pretty good agreement right there. But now we're going to back off and go to the GFS. I haven't looked at the 18Z GFS as well. So let's take a look there and see if it's in alignment. Well, the 0Z is running, but we're going to look at the 18Z first. Okay, so upper level low spinning around. And we're going to take a look here. Does it have any Pacific moisture like what the artificial intelligence model showed? It does. It's got a system out here, but that is not what the artificial intelligence model was showing. However, you can see how that would start as possibly some freezing rain, but that's all the way towards next weekend. That is way off into fantasy land, and maybe some snow out of that one as well. But who knows about that? Way too far out there. But the artificial intelligence model has been very consistently showing that potential. Let's scroll back here. And what I'm talking about here is after the upper level low on our initial snow chances. But you can see it's been showing this system pretty consistently. Now, if I bounce back out here towards last night, it also had that low out there as well. So it's been pretty persistent on that feature there. So we'll see how that turns out. 376 likes right now. GFS out to 42 hours. Yep, Garrett Hartung's in the house now. So yeah, he's basically repeating kind of the same thing I am. With this, any of this Pacific moisture that comes back in, there's going to be a lot of cold air in place. So let's go back to the Pacific Northwest view here. Okay, now we're going to go back to the North American model, the 3KM, and we're going to take a look at this thing here. And we're going to take a look at precipitation. We're going to go to reflectivity type. And actually, let's go to Northwest, a little bit wider view. We're going to close that down. So what time is it right now? We are dealing with about, what, 7:30 or so, give or take. And as we go through tonight, some of that rain will be starting for the coastal areas. You see the snow flying across the higher terrain. There it goes for the Cascades. Maybe there's some wintry precip, kind of brief there, eastern Washington, higher terrain, eastern Oregon. Frontal system goes through, and then the really cold air aloft starts to arrive Friday night. And this initially will probably be the hot spot, especially for western Washington, just near Everett, towards Marysville, that convergent zone activity. I'm kind of interested to see what that will be showing. Pretty persistent there. Got some pretty good showers moving into southwest BC there also, off and on, hit and miss. A lot of the Puget Sound, but some of the Seattle metro is going to kind of initially be rain shadowed a bit with this westerly flow aloft. You'll get a little bit of compression on the backside of the Olympic Mountains, and it'll warm things up just enough to keep some of that precipitation away. But this bound to bring some showers in there as we go through the day Saturday eventually. And you can kind of see the off and on hit and miss nature. So some of these showers have the potential to drop some snowfall, bring that snow level down to the surface. But when it stops snowing, you're likely to start warming up a bit. Not a lot, and the ground is pretty darn right cold here. I tried to pick a few weeds a couple days ago, and my ground was pretty solidly frozen in the backyard. And I'm in Normandy Park here, not that far from Puget Sound. So the ground is pretty cool out there, and this rain here as we go through tonight and tomorrow is not going to help too much. The ground is pretty well chilled. So you could get some slick spots here as you're going through the day Saturday, especially if you get continuous showers moving over your location or convergent zone areas. You could get accumulating snowfall on Saturday. And again, there's thunderstorm potential with these showers moving through. Then it starts to get really tricky. And let's take a look here. Let's look at the GFS, because I mean, I like to look at the latest stuff, right? Let's take a look at reflectivity type. And we're going to scroll on through. This is the brand new GFS. And you look at that right as you pass midnight. Convergent zone snowfall starts north of Seattle, Everett area, Marysville, maybe up towards Anacortes there. And it's pretty persistent and robust with that snowfall chance hanging on. There's going to be snow showers off and on. So many of you will see flakes across western Washington, southwest BC on the day Saturday, even some of the Willamette Valley as well. I wouldn't expect a lot of accumulation, but again, it could get slick when you're under the showers. Upper level low starts to sink, and you can again see on Sunday, again, additional rounds of snow. So we'll just let this update for a minute here, and I'll go check out some of the chat. Yeah, there's big time snowfall potential for portions of eastern Washington, depending on how things line up. In fact, we'll bounce back. We'll come back and check that out here in a moment, but I want to take a look at what the European, the 18Z, was showing for snowfall potential. Because we got a couple things going on here. With this frontal system moving through, you can see this down in California, this atmospheric river. You see how it bounces north as we go through the day Sunday, exposing much of eastern Oregon to some heavy snowfall, especially southern Oregon, higher terrain. And then this could bounce back north and start to include Bend, Pendleton, Blue Mountains, portions of eastern Washington. Look at this band of moderate snow across Pullman, Idaho Panhandle, western Montana. And some of that could be drifting northbound across western Washington as you go through Tuesday morning there. You know, it could drop an inch of snowfall if it's below freezing. That's very disruptive for a metropolitan area, especially Seattle with a lot of hills. And then it starts to bounce back down across the area, and then we'll have to worry about what's going to come after that later. But there's some signs of another Pacific storm trying to move in after that. Yeah, there's big snow potential for southwest BC, absolutely. So let's take a look here. We'll go to winter, and we will go to snow depth. And we're going to zoom in a bit here now. So I don't know why it's being... Okay, snow depth change. We'll just leave it there. But this is snow depth change. If I go to 10 to 1 inch ratio, notice these huge amounts showing up out there. This is a conservative way. This is the way you forecast a lot more effectively. But even that could be 2 inches of snowfall for Seattle. That's pretty disruptive. That's 2, maybe a little bit more for areas Spanaway, Puyallup, Tacoma, Olympia, 2 to 4. Look at some of the coastal areas right away. Actually, That's right on the ocean beaches. I mean, my goodness, Forks. That's why the winter storm watch is up for places like Forks, Washington. You're talking about 2 to 9 inches of snowfall. And I mean, it's showing snowfall all the way up to the Oregon coast here as well. We'll see if they get a winter weather advisory out of that. But also pay attention down here. You're looking at pretty good snowfall amounts. You might look at these blues and scoff, but anything over 2 inches of snowfall with below freezing temperatures, this is a big deal. It gets slick. And you start to get into the purples, that's 6. You start to get into the pinks, you're looking at 9, 10, a foot, more than a foot. Big amounts across the Rocky Mountains as well. Huge amounts across portions of the Cascades. And again, you can see some of these heavier amounts showing up here. I mean, Vancouver, BC, 7 inches. And you know how this goes in these scenarios. 7 inches can turn into a foot. It can turn into 14 inches. You're basically kind of unlimited if you're underneath a convergent zone. It's just going to keep snowing if you're underneath it. And the temperatures aren't going to warm up if you're underneath that. So all it takes is a little bit of discrepancy in what the models are showing, and you end up with 10 inches instead of 5, or, but there's cases where you might get less as well. But I mean, even up and down the I-5 corridor, look at down towards Kelso. I mean, this is 6 inches of snowfall. This is snow depth. This is not a 10-to-1 ratio. You put the 10-to-1 ratio on there, and these are the gaudy amounts that you kind of scoff at and you don't take seriously. Kuchera does a little bit better, takes into account lower levels of the atmosphere, but snow depth change in inches is really the way to go. And you can look at snow depth there as well, and that will fluctuate based on melting and things like that are going on. But yeah. I'm going to drink some water here, talking to myself. Yeah, it should. Snow depth change should take into account melting. So basically, I mean, if you're just what the model is looking at, if I click on the 10-to-1 ratio, for example, and I pull this all the way out, it's looking somewhere up here in the Cascades. It's saying 28.6 inches. It's basically saying an inch of rain would be about a foot of snow. So it just takes that 10-to-1 inch ratio and just runs with it. And that's also based on temperature as well. It has to be, right about freezing or below to get that snow accumulation. The Kuchera ratio will take into account the lower levels of the 500 millibars, like the lowest levels of the atmosphere and the temperature. I've totally forgotten how that is calculated now, but I just kind of know how that works. And then you look at positive snow depth change in inches. This should be taking into account any melting that goes on. So yeah, that's where we are with that. So, okay, let's go back to the GFS and see how much is in here. If the low goes more east, yeah, that would be better because that upper level low would hang out closer to the Pacific Northwest. So that would definitely be better for snow lovers anyway. And let me do this. I'm going to back out one more time here, and we're going to go and grab another map, and we're going to go to Oceanic. Actually, let's go to Western Canada. Let's see what this looks like. We're going to go to upper levels of the atmosphere, so upper level heights. And sometimes I like the look. This kind of keeps you in check when you look at the actual 500 millibar heights and not the anomaly. Sometimes the anomaly throws people off. You just see this bright blue or purple or bright green, and you get excited about it, but doesn't necessarily mean much unless you take into account the actual 500 millibar heights. So here we go through 87 hours. Let's compare that to what was going on this morning. Lobe a little bit stronger, very similar placement there. Now, as a general rule, when you start to look and you see the blues there, you're looking about 525. You want about 500. Right, that's about good enough. When you're underneath the polar lobe, when it's about 528, 525, 522, you're looking at snow accumulating all the way down to sea level, especially at 522. But there's other ways to get snowfall as well. You can convergence and convection and whatnot, or you can bring in surface cold air and then ride moisture back up over it, things of that nature. So there's more than one way to skin a cat as far as getting snow here in the Pacific Northwest. But in some of our higher end setups, we've had polar lobes. Let me back this all the way up. And yeah, so it doesn't really show. We've had polar lobes as strong as what is being shown over here. over north central Canada, drop down over the Pacific Northwest. And that's when you get the really good stuff, and you get like the Arctic front that just comes in and there's no rainfall involved at all, and it's just immediately snowing and the wind's out of the north and it's just howling and it starts blowing around on the roadways and whatnot right away. So if you get one of those big polar lobes, you're dealing with like, a once in a or a twice in a generation snowfall. Some of those big events are so memorable. I remember so many details, for example, of the 1990, the 89, and the 96, and 2012, and 2008 storms. I remember extreme details about those weather events because they were so fun. Like November 2010 was a pretty good shot as well. November 1985, I was in middle school then. But yeah, this is not one of those high-end polar lobes, but it still is setting itself up in a way that it is going to bring some interesting snowfall amounts across the area. And even in better polar lobes, sometimes you don't get that much snowfall for given areas. Sometimes it can move through pretty progressively and not bring a lot of widespread snowfall as well, depending on the track and just how much moisture it picks up. But anyway, how far are we out? We're at 93 hours here now. And you can see the lobe is stronger. It's pretty similarly placed here. In fact, actually, the lobe is stronger and more across Southwest BC. That's a little bit of a better trend there that you want. And I also like how, let me stop updating that, but that put us at 96. I also like how this lobe is a little bit more connected here. It's a little, you can tell it's a little bit more cut off. Not quite as cut off here. This is not as much of a closed lobe, which is good. This could help it stay a little bit further to the east. So you got to remember, today's only Thursday, and Saturday we just have the strong onshore flow. But where that polar lobe is as we go on into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday is going to have huge impacts on just how much snow as we get on into next week. And when that's going to be the better chances for snow down into the Seattle metro as well. Jonas Miller can't sniff the dirt with rain that freezes. That's going to be a running joke for the rest of my life, I have a feeling. We still haven't figured out who Jonas Miller is. I don't know if it's somebody I know or if it's somebody who just watches the channel. But it's pretty funny. Let me check on the chat here, make sure I'm not missing too much. A lot of questions coming across. I can't respond to all the questions, but I do appreciate everybody in here and chatting. 1,300 people watching. Yeah, 1996, that was a mess, man. That was a big time storm. My goodness. Airport on Monday, I would definitely call ahead. Definitely call ahead if you're headed out of Painfield or SeaTac or Portland or whatever, because at an airport, you can be driving there. The roads can be bare and wet. And maybe you're getting some snowfall and you're like, oh, it's no big deal. So not sticking on the streets. Aircraft wings are cold. Cold steel. Snow likes to stick on that. You got to de-ice those planes. You're not taking off with the contamination on your wings. You have to get that off. That creates big chain reaction delays at an airport for an airline. Trust me, I've lived this for the last 20 years. And when it snows at SeaTac, things just get absolutely wild. And of course, Part 121, aviation, extremely safe. Nobody's taking off with anything on the wings, and you need to be calling ahead if there's any kind of snow activity ongoing. February 19th, 2019, that was another good one there as well. That was not even one of the bigger polar lobes as well. That was not a high-end polar lobe, but we did get good air out there, and we had nice trajectory for some of that action. Foothills, yeah, you're going to get slammed as well. There's winter storm watches up for a lot of areas in the foothills. Snow is going to start in Bellingham potentially as early as Friday night. You could see some flakes mixing in late Friday night. Saturday, you're probably going to see snow showers off and on. Jonas is in it for the money, not the science. If you guys haven't watched Twister, you might hear some Twister references. So if you haven't seen Twister, the movie, the first one, go watch that. 1996. Warner Brothers. Actually, I want to show you guys something. don't know if you guys can see that or read it. Can you guys read that? I'll wait for somebody to see. This is an unopened box of 1996 Donruss Twister cards, unopened packs. The box is still sealed. So, yeah, I'm a big Twister movie fan. I've got four complete sets of these cards. I've got 2 of these unopened boxes. I don't know if I'll ever open it, but the cards are pretty cool. Some of them are really rare, and it's kind of expensive because they're pretty rare. I mean, it's been almost 30 years since those cards came out. So yeah. The plastic is reflecting. Okay, sorry about that. But here. There you go. All right, back to the weather. But yeah, that's a better place polar lobe right there. So what I like to do, since I like to go ahead and check this out frame by frame, I like to update there. Then I like to go back. We'll check it out versus the 18Z. Twister the game. Twister the game is when you come storm chasing. So yeah, that is a better place low. That is the 0Z here on the left. This is the most recent model run versus 18Z. And you saw the 12Z I just showed you. It's not that far off from what the 18Z was showing. But right here, we've got the 525 line right there. There's the 528. That's really close to just being able to have accumulating snowfall all the way down towards the surface. 528 is pretty close, especially with the little convection. Convection gives it that little extra kick. So 528 might get it done. But man, that is a much better place low. If that's something that's trending, this is going to get even crazier, you guys. If the 00Z GFS is onto something with this polar lobe placement, that is really onto something. You can kind of see again how it's less of a closed low here. Yeah, that's pretty fun stuff going over this for the first time here. Wrangler Star, thanks for the generosity. Yeah, I love old baseball card stuff like that too. Sometimes you'll see that on YouTube or something, like people opening like baseball cards from like 70 years ago, unopened packages, and they're opening them for the first time and stuff. Pretty fun. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. What I mentioned that to Mark yesterday when he came over to my house to drop off my drone. He said that I told him that maybe we'll get the first documented snow tornado, ongoing snow, and a water spout or some kind of brief tornado on the coast or something like that. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Upper level low, very cold air right on the coast. I mean, I don't know. I've never seen it. I've never heard of it, but it's in the realm of possibility. And if there was a setup to get it done, this would be the setup, especially with an upper level low just churning off the coastline here, you know, getting some vorticity going and maybe bringing up just enough moisture and some convection going on with that. Yeah. It's an extreme long shot. I just like to have fun and try to make some wild predictions sometimes, but yeah. Mark Stewart is in the house. Somebody gifted a membership. Thank you very much. I see those memberships going out. Thank you guys. Wranglestar has 2.55 million subscribers. Is that for real? Where did he go? Where's his channel? I got to see this. He does. $2.5 million. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching. I'll have to check out the channel. I'll leave it up there and I'll just come back and check that out. Jeff Nooney. No, I wouldn't. No, the Kitsap Peninsula has snow chances as well. Don't get down yet. Especially with east winds going on. I mean, check this out. Look at some of these winds. So I'm going to scroll through here. I'm going to zoom way in here for a second so I can answer that question because he paid some money. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to go to, actually, we're just going to go to Seattle. So 110 meter wind speed here. Let's go to 100 meter. This is the European 18Z. I'm going to wait for the wind to switch out of that. There it goes. You can really see on this one here. You can see that wind turn northeasterly as we go through Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. Starts trying to creep down the Fraser River Valley. There it goes. It's flowing out. It's rolling across the strait. San Juan's here. But what I want to show you is watch what happens. Even though we've got the north wind here. Now, when the upper level low is off the coastline, there's some east wind. There's a little bit of the east wind characteristic going on here. So it doesn't mean that Kitsap Peninsula is going to be kind of messed up or not get any snow. You can see the wind is easterly here. So you could easily be getting some wraparound moisture from this upper level low. Could be pushing back up into the Kitsap Peninsula. So no, you have chances of snowfall as well as we go through the upcoming portion of next week. Kevin gifted 10. Thank you very much. Wrangell Star based in Oregon. 2.5 million. Nice. 1,200 people watching. That's about a third of what was watching during the bomb cyclone peak. I think there was like 3,700 people at one time watching during the bomb cyclone live stream. Which turned out to be as far as hours, was my most watched video ever. California or Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. It just narrowly beat out a couple other daily video briefings that I had done. Yeah, I'm going to check out his channel. Grants Pass southward, southern Oregon. Hammered with snow Sunday. Yeah, the atmospheric river bouncing around there is really going to hammer some of the higher terrain into Northern California, some of the Sierra Nevadas also. Yeah, I've kind of forgetting to mention that here. We'll also take a look at that here on GFS. Let's go back. Actually, let me do this. We'll back that up. We'll refresh. We'll go back to the 18Z and compare. So again, we're watching this polar low. We're watching the 00Z run full real time here. And again, we've got a bit of a stronger lobe here versus the 18. Look at it, 522 line start to perk back up again, man. That's really close. And look at that 525 line is over Western Washington at this point. Man, I hope the GFS is on to something there. That's pretty wild. That just includes portions of Western Oregon even at this point. And the 522 line is now over the Washington coast. I mean, that's nuts. That's pretty good. Swings back across. And as that ejects back inland, that would be kind of interesting there as well. So yeah, fun stuff there. Somebody just gifted $10. Who was that? Scott and Sheila Rika. Snow between Salem and Eugene. There's a possibility. There is a possibility, yes. And you'll probably see snowflakes on Saturday as well. Okay, so let's take a look at this and we'll take a look at much of the region here. So this is the GFS coming off hot off the press. We'll take a look at the atmospheric river. We'll check out the Willamette Valley. So Rick and Scott and Sheila can see what's going to happen there. So, okay. What does the GFS show? Well, it turns it over to snow pretty quickly as we go through Saturday morning. Strong onshore flow, very cold air aloft, thunderstorm chances. Likely to see snow really in a lot of places here. How much of it will accumulate depends on how long you are underneath some of these showers. And you can kind of see the highlight for the Convergent zone up there. So we go through Saturday morning. We're scrolling through the day on Saturday. Continued onshore flow and showers. Low pressure system, the surface low drop down the coastline, and it's probably going to be just a little bit too warm still here. Well, I'm going to need to do this here really quick. I want to look at surface winds here really quickly. It's still out of the south and westerly, but there's going to be so much cold air aloft coming in that it's hard to just say that with any kind of certainty. So as we go through the day Sunday, you can see the snow, a little bit of rain, maybe still in the Willamette Valley here. There goes the surface low dropping down. Rounds of even some moderate snow showing up around the Seattle metro as I scroll back and forth. And this atmospheric river, I mean, man, Siskiyous, watch out. Cascades of California. And this is just bouncing around eastern Oregon, Idaho, and Montana all the way into Wednesday here. That upper level low still hanging out as we go on in through Wednesday morning. There's going to be some high-end stuff because storms like this and polar lobes that visit the Pacific Northwest, this complex interaction between terrain and relatively warm water and that cold air picking up some moisture off that cold water and slamming it back into terrain, and then terrain features and convergent zone activity. And then you get reversal of winds with east winds coming through the gorge and the Fraser River Valley and the cold air spilling out. And then so many different factors come into play here that there's going to be big surprises, and there's probably going to be surprises on the higher end of things here as well. So this is really fun to watch. It'll be really interesting to see what happens. But like I mentioned, let me back up here and we're going to go back to Seattle, Tacoma, because I want to show this again. This is for Seattle, Tacoma right now. If you're just joining, winter storm watch is in effect for the Washington coast. You heard that right. For the Washington coast, the San Juans, Bellingham, foothill areas, Snohomish, King, and Pierce County also have some pretty heavy snowfall potential. There's also heavy snowfall potential at times for virtually much of the region here, but it's going to be a nowcast situation for some of these areas, and depending on just how strong this polar lobe turns out to be. We got winter storm warnings for the Cascades of Washington. We go down into Oregon. This is new, I do believe. Let's take a look at what this says. Portland National Weather Service. And I'm going to do this really quick. Boom, 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 boom. Take those off of there so I'm not blocking anything from you guys. Okay. So here's a good winter weather timeline. Sunday, February 2nd through February 4th. Now this is National Weather Service Portland again. Rain, snow showers in the lowlands, below 500 feet, snow showers in the mountains above 500 feet. So if you're on hills, it's always good to know what your elevation is, because a lot of people live hilltops, foothills, coastal range, mountains, ocean. Minimal travel impacts below 500 feet initially. Travel impacts some of them above 500 feet. So again, Monday, light snow showers in the mountains and the lowlands, mixing with rain at times, especially Salem to Eugene, south of Seaside. Okay, Sunday night, make sure. This is where it'll start to get interesting, I believe, for a lot of Western Oregon here that is not in the higher terrain. Monday night into Tuesday morning and into Wednesday. When that east wind develops, everybody knows what I'm talking about in the Willamette Valley, the Portland Metro, when the east wind develops. Arctic air is flowing out. And then if you bring a Pacific storm system back into that, you get the freezing rain potential. So that's when things are going to get really interesting. But there's still some lower elevation snowfall potential accumulation, mainly above 500 feet until Monday night through Tuesday morning. So good stuff here from the National Weather Service, Portland, Oregon. A lot of people love Wrangell Star in here. I'm glad to hear people have heard of them a lot. Yeah, I've mentioned Southwest BC, but I feel like I'm not mentioning it enough because there's big time snowfall potential up there. Definitely. I mean, and they're probably going to get it before most other people. So here, we'll go through that again. So as we go, we get convergent zone activity Saturday morning. And again, these convergent zone bands and these showers are just going to be flying in here. And then as we drop this surface low right there, man, it's going to get wild. So this is Sunday morning. Looks like things really ramp up early Sunday morning for a lot of Southwest BC, Vancouver Island. I mean, look at this. You're getting 6, 9, 12 hours, maybe some heavy snow, East Vancouver Island, the Strait. And again, for Southwest BC, all the way through Monday morning, there's going to be some big time snowfall amounts. There's going to be big surprises, and there's going to be some huge totals out there. I'm fairly confident that that is going to be occurring for some locations at this point. And then as we go on in through, Monday morning, you're seeing moderate snow up the Puget Sound here. Monday afternoon. And then that comes to an end. And then you've got this band trying to creep back northward. How far is that going to get? Is this going to be getting that snow level down a little bit here across some of the Willamette Valley as you go on in through Tuesday as well? That would be interesting also. And then If I back that up, you can see how that extends across eastern Oregon, back up towards the Tri-Cities, maybe Walla Walla, some snow maybe for Yakima, Pullman, getting back up towards Spokane and I-90, Idaho Panhandle. And again, the Arctic air boundary can be seen right about there. And it's actually already dropped down into Portland or not Portland, but into Oregon at this point. So let me update that. We were at hour 132. Let's fly back out there. I want to see if it's hinting at anything coming through the extended forecast or if this upper level low phasing through is it. Looks like that might be it there. Still some chilly air around, but maybe this will give a little bit better of a look at things here. Let's update that. What comes after that? Not telling us too much. So it doesn't show the big Pacific system coming in. But again, at the same time, we got to watch this upper level low kind of spinning, then moving back across the region here as we go through the day Wednesday. We'll see how that ends up. And still plenty of time. We're looking kind of far off in the forecast there. And for those of you guys who aren't math majors and don't know what a centimeter is, it's about 4 centimeters to 1 inch. So that's about, what, 7.5 inches? 30 centimeters would be about 7.5 inches of snowfall. Yeah, Boise's going to be tough. The Treasure Valley there is, but there might be chances later on also. We'll see. But yeah, big time snow coming for the Siskiyous, Klamath Range, Cascades, then eventually down through the Sierra Nevada as we go on in through Tuesday. Look at that heavy snow. Big time snowmaker coming for the Sierra Nevada. Whoo, as we go through Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Man alive. Active weather pattern coming up here, you guys. Yeah, 1 second here. Let me drink some more water. Skunk Alley is known as Federal Way, Washington. Shout out if you're from Federal Way. Matthew Fab is right there, Federal Way, Washington. They never get any weather there. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay. Let's take a look here. So GFS, let me see if this was 18Z data we were looking at here. Let's look at the most recent. Still 18Z. Okay, they haven't updated that. No, all 18Z. GFS Ensemble. This is still 18Z data stuff. That's for Seattle. We're going to take a look at precipitation amounts. Some of the ensembles do show that wetter system moving back in here, but I mean, the artificial intelligence has been so bullish on it that I can't ignore it, but the GFS kind of backed off on it now. But yeah, you can see that the period of very cold air aloft arriving for Portland as we go through the day Saturday, remaining with us all the way on in through the week. So there's going to be some of that precipitation chances coming. This is also another one I like to show, the cross section. Let's do that. So you can see Portland, this white line here, that's the freezing level. We're looking at Celsius temperature cross section, lowest 10,000 feet of the atmosphere. Frontal system's moving through here, but then you see the cold air arrive on Saturday, and then you notice we get colder and colder and colder, and some of these highs are just barely above freezing. If that east wind is roaring and we're getting any kind of precipitation around, you could have a day below freezing, a day or two there for Portland as well. So you can clearly see where the 10C line is, the very cold air. This is the polar lobe kind of hanging around, nicely seen here on the cross section. Look at that sucker. Coming in here Saturday, maybe hanging around to Friday. There it is on Seattle also. A little bit even chillier aloft there. But this is actually a pretty decent representation of that polar lobe coming hanging down across the area. And you can see, again, we're going to have trouble getting above freezing if things line up right for some of these days, especially as early as Monday, but probably more like Tuesday and Wednesday, maybe Thursday. Let's take a look at Quileute right on the Washington coastline. And again, look at that polar low. Boom. You can see that cold air just arrive, hang out all week long. It's like a bad guest who won't leave your house. It's just kind of hanging on here. But a lot of us do like the snowfall, though. What's that saying? Go after 3 days, fish and guests start to smell, something like that. There's Hoquiam. Vancouver, man, look at that. Whew. Gonna be tough to get above freezing once you get on in towards Monday for Vancouver International Airport, it looks like. And then who knows what's coming after that. There's also this cross section as well, but this kind of looks up way far in the atmosphere. I mean, who needs to know what's going on at 34,000 feet, right? Okay, that's what I was looking for. So Garrett's looked ahead in the forecast. Let's look at that again here. Okay, so let's update because Garrett says there is some kind of Pacific storm developing out there. I think I might have saw that at the very end of the run. But yeah, look at this atmospheric river pointed into California as we go through this weekend. Just relentless. Which, of course, is also the tap to that prolific snowmaking machine that's going to be just absolutely ripping across portions of Oregon, Idaho, Montana, eastern Washington at times, some of the Oregon Cascades, Klamath Range, Siskiyou, Sierra Nevada. Man, what a storm. Now we're heading off in towards the 8th there. So yeah, we'll have to see what is this energy going to do down there. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Now, something else we can show here. We'll look at 925 millibar temperature. So we're going to go to here. Look at the end of the run, 125 hours. You can see how much more cold air is in place as we go on in towards next Friday. So here we go. Cold air arrives on Saturday. Arctic air sags across southern BC down into eastern Washington, Idaho, and Montana. And that boundary is just going to be kind of hung right up there. Look at the much warmer air, 2,500 feet down across. Actually, some of this might be very close to the surface, but still big contrast in temperatures as you get down in towards the desert Southwest. Very cold air across some of the Arctic regions. And as we go into the midweek period, we're going to be pretty entrenched in some cold air with some east winds, potentially pulling some of that cool air back out. So if anything were to come back in, we're looking at a potential freezing rain event maybe for the Willamette Valley. But that's a ways out there and still kind of a long shot right now. I mean, maybe not a long shot, but it's something that we'll definitely have to do our homework on over the next few days. Try to catch up on some chat here. Some disc golf chat. Yeah, some places are going to see some pretty good snowfall amounts out of this setup. We'll go back to the lower level cross section here. That's Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah, so you can also see the beginning of this whole thing. This is the beginning of that polar lobe creeping down across the Gulf of Alaska. Here it comes. It's on its way. Yeah, I would trust the Euro over the GFS and the Canadian for snow totals for sure. The Canadian tends to run cold. I don't really even look at that model. I look at the GFS mainly just to see how it's agreeing with the European. North slopes of the Olympics break down. Well, let's take a look here. Let's zoom in a bit. Let's take a look at the latest GFS here. So, okay, we're going to back all the way up. So I know what you're talking about. So there's a feature that goes on sometimes where the Fraser River outflow will come pouring out, come across the strait, pick up moisture, and slam itself in to the Olympic Mountains right there. And as it does, of course, the air lifts, it cools, condenses, forms clouds and snow. So let's take a look. Right here, we're going through Sunday. We're still getting onshore flow. You're just going to get the passing showers by this point. So what we want to look at here is, when does the northeast wind come? Let's back up there. Okay, so it starts about Sunday night. You can see it ripping out of the northeast there, and it starts pushing into the peninsula there. So it does it for a bit. Yeah, I mean, it's going on there. Let's see. Okay, so we've got it going from about Sunday night. Kind of weakens there till what? Wednesday. We're going to call it till Wednesday. So we're going to take a look here. And we're going to scroll out to Sunday night. And I don't know if this is because upper level low is nearby, or if this actually, because this is probably going to help enhance some of the precipitation there. So I would say that you might get some of the enhancement as that's coming across the strait there. And it continues to show it there a little bit. So yeah, there is that potential for that upslope snow there. I mean, this is on in through Tuesday, and I don't know that there would be any other reason except for some of that Fraser River outflow coming across the strait, picking up some moisture and depositing it out here towards the north slope of the Olympic Mountains. That makes sense right there. And then we get this upper level low is still spinning some moisture across the region here as it moves out of the area. North Olympic Weather Peninsula. What was that? Somebody signed up as a member. Thank you very much. Blue means snow. So it just started raining Kent East Hill, did it? So let's take a look at that. Close out that second screen, and we will go to radar. We'll go to Langley Doppler, and we'll let this play for a second. Finally, the rain is back. It is finally starting to fall out here. It's starting to move into Puget Sound. Kent East Hill, as mentioned, Washington Coast, Oregon Coast. Oh, look at that. It's already raining up there across southwest BC. Get some moderate rainfall up there. What's going on here? Or is that some kind of artifact? Somebody report back on that. You can see the rain shadowing effect here when you get the southwest flow. Some snow in SFU. So yeah, is that mixing in with snow into the lower elevation? Somebody, Ryan, is it raining? Where are you, Ryan? Are you at home, or where are you? Somebody report back from Vancouver, BC. Is that like mixing in with snow here? Nuisance power outages. That's hard to say, because there could be some with the Fraser River outflow winds, and then maybe you get some of that east wind through the Stampede Gap or the Columbia River Gorge. It doesn't look like an overall super windy period necessarily. But if you do start to get 5-6 inches of snowfall on trees, and it's kind of wet snow, that can collapse down and take out power lines as well. No mixed precip right now where Ryan is. He's in downtown Vancouver right now. Birch Bay, Blaine, pouring rain. Yeah, you can see it rolling in there. So yeah, enjoy the rain, rain lovers, because it's going to turn to snow on Saturday. We got another Ryan that chimed in. Ryan Heinzman, member of the channel. 39 in Tacoma. Oh yeah, westerly surge. I almost forgot to mention that too. Let's see. Let's pick that up on the North American model. 3 km, high resolution. 80 meter wind speed. Yeah, there's so much to look at here. I'm getting lost on some of the little individual features. It's a good thing to be reminded of this. So southerly winds. When do we get that surge? Well, here it goes. You can see the westerlies coming, marching their way Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, it's not a bad surge into Whidbey Island there. And yeah, okay, so there's some gusty winds on the east slopes of the Washington and the Oregon Cascades. Because, yeah, I mean, this is a pretty robust frontal system. And it is going to get windy for the Oregon coast a little bit here as well. So this is tomorrow. And then we go through tomorrow evening. Starts to pick up on the east slopes. Big westerly surge. Even they get that westerly surge down the Strait of Georgia there towards Vancouver. So, yeah, it's going to be blustery. I did mention that at the beginning. But there's that westerly surge, probably peaking some point tomorrow evening, 8 p.m., something like that. Wind speed swath, 50 miles an hour, low 50s. There's some more 50s out there as well. And pretty windy across some of the Oregon coast here also. So yeah, this frontal system is going to pack a bit of a punch. Even, 35 miles an hour for Seattle, 40 for Tacoma, Olympia. And even during the winter, you get a little bit of this break. The trees relax, get a few weeks of no rain, and maybe we'll start to bring down some branches. So there is the chance for some nuisance power outages. But yeah, if you're just joining, much of the region has a chance for snow, potentially all the way on in through next week. More than one round. I found this interesting. They put this out today here. The 8 to 14 day. They've got this high risk for much below normal temperatures. Includes the Seattle and the Portland metro. And I don't know why they singled this area out. I guess maybe just, again, that relative thing. But yeah, I don't know. Kind of an interesting look there. Just always check back. Yeah, LKJ, just call ahead. But if you see active precipitation and it's snowing at all, or there's freezing rain, or the forecast has changed and you're trying to fly out on Tuesday and there's freezing rain or something going on, or there's snow showers, just call ahead, because you might think the roads are not too bad and you're able to drive around. That doesn't mean the airport's going to be great. There could be snow on your plane's wings and they got to de-ice it. And then you think you're going through a 40-minute delay on every single plane. There's only a couple de-icing trucks available, and all of a sudden you've got, multiple hour delay. So just call ahead if you see active precipitation, or if the forecast calls for some snow, and just check back daily. Also, if you're just joining, winter storm warnings up and down the Oregon, Washington Cascades, winter storm watch for the Oregon coastal range. In fact, I'm going to click on that and see what it says here. Brooklyn, Sunset Summit, Wilson River Summit, 2 to 4 inches. Winter storm watch, again, Oregon coast there. Now, check it out, you guys, because Washington coast has winter storm watch in effect, if you can believe that, all the way out to the beaches. Hoquiam, McClearly, Elma, Monsanto, Aberdeen, Forks, 2 to 9 inches possible. So they do talk about that the heaviest snowfall amounts being away from the water, of course, that makes sense. Potential for refreezing exists on Monday morning. And Kevin Hendrickson, thank you very much. Hendrickson. Should I put snow tires on my wife's car? I mean, if you could do it, I would do it just to be safe, because they can be very beneficial just in an inch or two of snow as well, especially if you get refreezing and stuff. But I mean, yeah, if you want to, you might as well use them for a week right out of the year. And there's always a chance we might stay a little bit snowy after that, or a little bit cooler, or maybe another chance of snow. Yeah, there's going to be convective snowfall going on. So there's going to be some big precipitation totals for some people, lesser for others, some surprise snowfall amounts. Not everybody's going to get snow. When can we expect advisories for Tacoma, Olympia, and Seattle? That is a very good question. The earliest you will see that is tomorrow. That's the earliest. And if I know the National Weather Service, they're going to try to hold off into Saturday morning. But if the models continue to trend quite cold, then you could easily see some advisories go up, I would assume maybe tomorrow evening for probably first would be Olympia and Tacoma. I think there's going to be some initial rain shadowing across some of the Central Sound, at least initially. But there's also the good chance that you're going to get some winter weather advisories up for places like Everett and Marysville and some of the areas north of Seattle, Snohomish, Skagit counties. That's likely to go up tomorrow as well. I think they're going to highlight that convergent zone potential a little bit further off down towards the water. Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for the generosity. Justin Long, thanks for your generosity. Yeah, if I had snow tires for my car, I should have bought the car that I bought. I should have bought the snow tires off the guy who offered to sell them to me. I would definitely put them on. I'd use them for a week or two. This would be a good time to do it. But yeah, this pattern does fit into La Nina year. I mean, this entire ridging along the west coast of North America is very El Nino-ish. Not El Nino, La Nina-ish. I have a bad habit of kind of mixing that up sometimes. That's kind of what characterizes La Nina, is you get ridging somewhere over the Gulf of Alaska. It's just been too close, and now it's backed up. So again, you can see our polar lobe, and look at this ridge. Look at this ridge all the way up into Alaska here. Finally, it's not just right down our throat and just bearing down on us and allowing all that Arctic air to continue on to the east of the Rocky Mountains. It's finally giving us a shot here at some cooler weather. This is the GFS, the 0Z run. Look at that polar lobe. Not bad. It's definitely not a high-end placement. It's not a high-end polar lobe, but it is going to bring some convective snow. It has a chance to pull some colder weather out. So yeah, there's going to be a few rounds of snowfall potential. Special weather statement effect for Southwest BC to highlight snow chances. Traction board's nice. Well, they haven't even classified this as a La Nina just yet. Let me see. Can I find this here? What am I looking at? I forgot where I put this. Here we go. Sorry, you guys had to read some MSNBC news. I don't know. That's just like the default homepage here. That's nothing that I surf or anything like that. That's just like the default homepage. So let's go to most recent 30-day animations. We'll go to Pacific and we'll go to sea surface temperature anomalies. It does have that La Nina look. So I think that when all things are said and done, unless something dramatically changes here, it's probably going to end up being classified as a weak La Nina. And I think that at the end of the run there, let's watch this. There was some colder water starting to upwell along the coast of South America. Is that still going in? It is. So yeah, a Modoki La Nina is when you just have kind of that cold water centered across the Central Pacific here and not much help across up against South America. But that's kind of changing right now. You saw at the very end of that loop, it pick up right there. Lake Stevens is under the winter storm watch. Roger that. I use your channel in teaching my high school meteorology class. Students were excited about today's post. Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are doing that. I have a friend who's a teacher also. I've spoken to his class a couple times. I've actually gone to a couple schools and sat there all day with the students. And I was kind of surprised at the energy level you have to maintain to be able to keep up with those kids. It's not an easy job being a teacher, my goodness. I used to teach at Green River for 9 years, but I was doing a combination of online classes and some in-person stuff, but mostly online. And even that can be pretty challenging. Yeah, Covington under the winter storm watch, that is true. Port Angeles could get that watch advisory at some point. That's possible. Enum Claw, that is correct. Snoqualmie Ridge, you're probably going to end up with some decent amounts. Also, I mean, when you start getting on hilltops, you're away from the water, you're definitely going to be picking up some amounts. You're a celebrity. Hope you can sign my fantasy snowstorm forecast hoodie. Yeah, man. If you see me out chasing or whatever, come up to me. I'll sign your guys' stuff. I actually had somebody come to my house and I signed a sweatshirt for him. His nephew was a big fan, apparently. So that's where we are with La Nina. I think that it will probably be classified as a weak La Nina when all is said and done, even though it got a late start and it's going to be tough to get there. But I think that they will probably have it line up with a weak La Nina, if I had to guess, but it's no guarantee. Yeah, there's a decent chance these watches will get upgraded to warnings. Yes. Well, I've been trying to stick with the European as much as I possibly could. That reminds me, let's go ahead and take a look at, I don't think we've looked at the North American 12 kilometer in the polar lobe, because that gives you a little bit better view. We'll take a look at the upper level heights. We'll compare this versus the last run. Because, actually, let's do this first. Was it this morning's run? It was just absolutely bonkers on. Yeah, look at that polar lobe, just right over Western Washington. 18Z, it backed it up a bit there. 0Z, it moved it off. So now it's starting to come in line with the global model. So that's the problem with some of these shorter range models, like the North American model. You start looking at 84 hours, and it just does not handle 500 millibar features as well as some of these global models do. But still, this is a very cold upper level low. This is still quite a dynamic, man, I kind of spoke too soon. That's wicked. 522 over the top of you, that will bring measurable snowfall. That will stick all the way down to sea level on Monday morning if that were to verify. That's a pretty chilly upper level low right there. And let's compare that to 18Z, and we'll back this up a little bit. The 522 line is, I mean, it's not as much as what was shown in the earlier runs, but these are kind of ridiculous. And I kind of knew those weren't going to verify. So if we go to, will this allow us to put the GFS on here? It will. But you can see what we just went through, looking at the GFS, thinking, hey, the GFS upgraded its polar low position. The NAM is even better. And that's kind of a very nice placement right there. Southwest BC, Western Washington. So yeah, I kind of expect this to back off here as we go on in through tomorrow as well. Probably closer to what the GFS and the European are showing. What time is it now? So it's 8:48. The European should start running here pretty well. Can we manage to stay up? I might have to go up and get some more water. I don't think I drank enough water today. Still running with the 18Z European model for now. Yeah, so there's our ridge, north flow, all the way down from the Yukon Northwest Territories. Raining in downtown Seattle. Yeah, Victoria can get that same feature that the Olympic Mountains get. They get that flow across the strait, picking up some of that moisture. Let's do that NAM 3KM here, and then we'll do. Well, actually, let's look at the icon. I want to check that out here real quick. Let's do this though. Let's close that. What did I do? Okay. Bring it back out. Restart. This is the European model. Kameshwari Kate. Folks who live in Vancouver, BC should be advised to take snow day if there is even 1 centimeter of snow. Face it, city of Vancouver. People should never attempt to drive in any snow. I think that goes for people in Seattle too. Stay home if there's snow sticking on the roads. That is the truth. Okay. German model. Saturday afternoon. Sunday morning. See, I can already picture the Doppler radar right here. There's just going to be so many snow showers just rotating around as we go through Sunday, Monday morning, hit and miss snowfall. Places getting several inches, some places getting skunked. Maybe a lightning strike or two with this upper level low around. Then this pivots down the coastline. Then we start to bring the north flow. Look at that pressure gradient, man. So Bellingham is what? Right there. We're looking at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, maybe 20 millibars. Williams Lake to Bellingham. Strong offshore flow there. Surface wind. Boom. Flowing through the Fraser River gap. Surface low right on the Oregon coast. My goodness. This is going to be wild because I know what the surface low is going to have some surprises with it. It's going to be dumping some snow along the coastal areas and the coastal range and throwing some snow back inland that we didn't expect, and all kinds of stuff is going to be going on here. Catch me outside. How about a Dr. Phil girl? Okay, so back to that. Let's look at. Yeah, look at that 518. Whew. So you can see how this is vertically stacked low right on the coast. So that's why you're going to get some decent snowfall amounts here for the Washington coast, especially up against the Olympics. Blowing snow in the forecast for Fraser Valley on Monday. Good stuff. Yeah, these upper level lows, this will bring some big surprises. And then even as you're going through Wednesday here, there's still that low around. It's still going to be producing some showers. Then it pulls away. And who knows what's going to happen after that. But now let's do this. We got Canadian models. First, let's look at the 10-kilometer one here. Oh, I don't want to spoil it. I like the suspense of marching through this. This is the 0Z also. So this is one of the Canadian models, 10-kilometer, one of the lower resolution ones there. There goes the polar lobe. And you can see how the models are finally coming into agreement on the position of this lobe. There's still some discrepancy in how strong it's going to be. But look at the pressure gradient ramp up here, Southwest BC. So it goes out 84 hours. And I'm just going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Williams Lake is somewhere right in here. So, yeah, but it's still tightening at this point. You can see that pressure gradient is still getting tighter at that point. And again, this is going to be bringing shower after shower, probably some well-developed convergent zone bands, and maybe just some good old-fashioned moderate snow, just kind of blanketing some areas. Probably more coverage than what we were expecting at this point. Now let's take a look here at the high resolution Canadian model. You want the suspense. This is just the next 48 hours. So here we are out 24 hours. That polar lobe swinging across western BC there. It starts to push down into place. You can see the Arctic boundary, central BC starting to sag south into British Columbia there at hour 48. Okay, so that's when the onshore flow is going to be very strong on the day Saturday. This is going to be thunderstorm potential here as well. Let's see how much cape. It's not bringing in too much cape on this, but there is some. It doesn't take much. that's something I wanted to look at here as well. Let's go to severe weather. Let's go to lightning flash density potential here on the 18Z. So here we go on the day Saturday. You'll see when the European is showing any of this, especially with these convergent zone setups, that's a good indicator for some lightning. And then again on Sunday. After that, it stays pretty far away there. And another thing I like to look at with the European, if you see any Cape values at all across Pacific Northwest, that's lightning potential. And you can kind of see that moving in on Saturday. Yeah, so don't be surprised if somebody gets some thunder snow. And remember that I called it 4 days out, if you will. But yeah, there's definitely Cape potential, thunderstorm potential. Cape is going to be around. Head through Sunday here, and yep, it's going to be back again. So yeah, very cold air aloft. Can I explain that pressure gradient? Yes, indeed. So let's take a look here. Let's go to we'll go to the 18Z European model, and we will go to pressure, and we will go to mean sea level pressure, and we will start to run through this because cold, dense Arctic air is of higher pressure than what is going on over the coastal areas. So as this very cold air starts to sag south, in fact, let me back this up. We'll go to Canada, and we will go to Western Canada. A little bit better of a view. Look at this Arctic high there. That is the very cold air, and there's the Arctic boundary. So as we scroll through Saturday night, there's that pressure gradient. So here's Bellingham, and there's Williams Lake right there. You're looking at what? I mean, maybe a couple millibars difference. Not a big deal. You're not going to have outflow underneath that scenario. But watch what happens as we go on into the day Sunday. See that pressure gradient growing? Now you're Bellingham here. You're looking at maybe 4, 8, maybe 12 millibars, maybe a little more at this point. The northeast wind is starting to push. And then look at that gradient get even tighter as we go on in through Monday morning. Let's see how tight we can get this sucker here. And then we're looking at about 10, 12 millibars here, maybe for Bellingham, versus about 1032 here for maybe right around Williams Lake. So that's about a 20 millibar difference. So you've got a lot of high pressure here. That air wants to flow from high to low. There's a lot of terrain features out here, but there's a low spot known as the Fraser River Valley. And so that air can push out through there. And also, if this dome of cold air is deep enough and cold enough, or just deep enough, it will flow over the terrain and it will come spilling out over Vancouver Island. In our big Arctic outbreaks, the Arctic air mass isn't just coming through the Fraser River Valley. It's coming over the terrain. It's spilling off of BC and the West Coast, and it is just pouring back into the region. Fast and furious. It's just coming down across the terrain. It doesn't matter. The cold air is deep and it's flowing over the terrain. It will go through some warming and some compression, but it doesn't matter. It's not enough to keep the very cold air out of Western Washington, Western Oregon. But in a little bit more tricky setups like this one, you need some help from that Fraser River outflow here. And a lot of that is going to be coming down through the Fraser River Canyon in this setup. But if I also take a look at the upper level temperatures, 850 millibars, let's go to the anomaly because it will show the wind lines there as well. So we'll back up. So here we are. We still got it way up there across Alaska. But look at it just barreling down. And you can see the north wind start to push down. Southerlies across southwest BC. Arctic air mass right there. The big clash between warm and cold, good and evil, cats and dogs. Pushing down across southwest BC. Upper level low or surface low is right there off the Washington coast. And then look at the wind shift. You start to get it out of the east. And then eventually probably out of the north a little bit here as well. But the east will be good enough at 850 millibars. But yeah, that cold air will be spilling out right there. So yeah, cold, dense air pushing down through. So that's why we measure from Williams Lake to Bellingham. It gives you a really good example of how strong those northeast winds are going to be. And so for some of the big Arctic outbreaks, those winds have reached up towards 100 miles per hour, and they can be very damaging. And not to mention they knock out power, and then the wind chills are down below 0 Fahrenheit, and it just gets absolutely crazy out there. So hopefully that was a good explanation. Nice. Yeah, it's a very fun thing to know, just kind of a general overall understanding of the weather where you live. It makes things so much more interesting. There's always something to watch. You're like, oh, we're going to get thunderstorms, or there's a big atmospheric river coming, or we got snow potential, and you just start to learn about it, and you're like, oh, wow, that looks good. And yeah, let's see what the other forecasters are saying, and you get to like share what you're seeing and stuff like that. And the thing about meteorology is the best meteorologist, you're forgetting stuff all the time. You have to relook stuff up. Nobody remembers everything there is to know about meteorology. You know, every once in a while, when we go without for a while, I'll kind of confuse what a Rex block or an Omega block is or something like that, you know, and you got to just quickly look that stuff up and you remember it and whatnot, but you got to stay on top of things when you're dealing with meteorology, and you've always got to have, you know, your resources and your study guides to go back and recheck on things as well. So like when spring weather comes around, I start dealing with severe weather. I go through a big tutorial as we go on into spring. I'm like rehashing everything. I'm going through scenarios and kind of just trying to get back on the horse there for doing severe weather out across the plains. And yeah, it's kind of a never ending cycle, but it's very fun. Yeah, if you're just joining, you guys, there's a snowfall potential across much of the region, multiple chances of it. Some places already have winter storm watches up. There's winter storm warnings for the mountains. And you can see by the time we get towards Monday night, look at all that cold air around, very cold low pressure system right off the coast. Snowfall potential, it's going to be with us. Atmospheric river into California. It's going to be spreading moisture back north at times as well. And let's look at this here. I got to go over that again because I'm kind of skipping over a little bit here. This is a pretty flippin' dynamic potential here for some portions of eastern Washington. So look at, I don't want to look at apparent temperature, but I want to do like an anomaly. Let's go to Celsius. Look at some of the air down into eastern Washington and eastern Oregon. It's very cold, and there's a very sharp boundary here, and there's a lot of Pacific moisture that's coming back up and over this Arctic air that's going to be in place as we go through both this weekend and this upcoming week. There is going to be some huge snowfall amounts across the Rocky Mountains and even in some of the valley areas of Montana, the Idaho Panhandle, eastern Washington, eastern Oregon also. And I better just go ahead and show you the GFS. So it's going to be a better descriptor versus what I'm showing you here. But yeah, east of the mountains, there's huge potential coming for snowfall with this setup. Back that up. Now, atmospheric river is already roaring here as, you know, the big plume starts rolling in here as we go through Saturday morning. Continues on, and then look at this moisture lift back north there, and then look at swing back north again here. Moderate snow all the way up into eastern Washington. A pretty long duration snowfall event potentially for a lot of eastern Oregon also. Rocky Mountains, Idaho, Panhandle, western Montana. Rich Pacific moisture just riding back up into that Arctic air mass. And finally that atmospheric river breaks up as we go through the day Wednesday, but still not quite even done there just yet. But yeah, if you saw that and played back, these are 3-hour chunks I'm going through here, folks. So yeah, there's a lot of snowfall potential east of the mountains. I want to kind of drive home that point, especially with that wave lifting back as you go on in through Monday night and on in through Tuesday. That's an impressive snowfall maker. A lot of cold air in place, disruptive snowfall amounts across eastern Washington, Tri-Cities, Pullman up towards Spokane. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I don't know what I'm chasing yet. I might go out to the Washington coast, to the Olympic Mountains, maybe chase the Convergent zone, maybe the Fraser River outflow winds. I don't even know what I'm going to do on Saturday just quite yet. Raining in North Seattle. Yeah, Brian J., that's what's fun about it. You get every 6 hours, you get a treat from the GFS or the European. You get to see what's coming next. Pretty fun. And you'll start to gravitate towards what the European is showing. Then you kind of look at the GFS when the GFS aligns with the European, that's when I get the thumbs up. You start getting excited because you get increased confidence, and then you can look at 2 models there versus just looking at 1. Yeah, we've had 1,300 viewers here today. We've had over 1,000 viewers for some time now going on. That's not bad. Thanks everybody for checking out. Des Moines, Washington, you're just south of me. I live in Normandy Park. So yeah, you're not very far. Pamela Keys. Thanks for the generosity. Looks like YouTube has updated some of their chat features here. I'm able to respond to some of these sometimes. Like that one gave me like a box to respond to. So that was kind of cool. Yeah, a lot of rain coming from Northern California. If you guys missed that, I mean, again, 3-hour chunks here. The rain starts tonight, tomorrow morning. Not much of a break. All the way on in through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it continues. That is going to be just sinister flooding. Oh my gosh. And then the front finally moves down, but still the upper level low around, still bringing some moisture in there. But man, that's like 3-4 heavy days of rainfall for Northern California. Big mountain snows. Yeah, I'm glad that YouTube is always working on stuff. They're always sending me all kinds of crazy notifications. Like the YouTube Studio is an amazing feature. It does so many analytics. I can click on my channel and I can see where people have viewed from all over the world. I can see like people from Ethiopia. A few people have watched videos from there, like all these random countries. And some countries like in Europe, actually people watch and they average almost 4 minutes of view. And it's kind of interesting. I wonder why they watch the Pacific Northwest channel over here, but it's interesting that you can see all of that activity. I can see from individual cities from where people are watching, how long they're watching for, all kinds of stuff. There's so many cool things in the YouTube Studio. There's a chance for some of that straight effect snow. Yes. That gets going on the day, probably on the day Monday into Tuesday. You can kind of see that little feature there, the Fraser River outflow going. And it still shows that near Victoria, Port Angeles. There's probably going to be some enhancement there with that north flow. Personal Whidbey Island forecast. Well, I mean, the San Juans, Whidbey Island, you could get convergent zone activity up there as well. I mean, here, let's do this. And we're going to zoom in a bit. We're going to go to precipitation, composite reflectivity type. So as we go into Saturday, watch just kind of the snow machine just kind of everything turns to snow in these showers as they move inland. But look at that. You can see some of these showers here bobbing and weaving around. If those are off by a little bit, that's already hitting Whidbey Island back and forth there. It's not going to take much to bring some accumulation. And you can see snow showers passing across Whidbey Island there. Look at that. Snow showers off and on. But in between that, you're probably going to go just above freezing. It'll be kind of a sloppy, wet, slushy stuff. But as you go on in through Saturday night is when things are really going to get interesting. The upper level is going to be close by. And man, the cold air aloft is so impressive that it's probably just going to be pushing that snow level right down towards the surface. So yeah, once you get to Saturday night and Sunday, you got to be prepared for those slick conditions. Do I get a lot of spam sponsorship requests? So I get sponsorship requests. Yes, I've gotten some potential. The only thing I've ever taken, of course, is the weather station. I've gotten some other ones for like, I got a water filter company wanted me to do that. And I've gotten opened up to YouTube. I should probably actually ask you guys about this. I'm able to like promote products from like Walmart or Amazon or things or these mainstream places. I can actually put links and you can go to the store and shop under my code now. So I can actually make some revenue for that, but I don't really want to flood the channel at the same time with ads from Walmart or stores. And there's some cool stuff in there and whatnot, but I don't know if I want to go that route. I just don't. I see the offers coming across where I make commissions for whatever links that you guys click on when you're watching my channel. And then if you go and buy something, then I get a little tiny cut of that. And yeah, it's just another way for them to advertise. But I don't know if that's something that I should ever do or not. I don't know. I haven't done it yet. It's been available to me for a few months now. Yeah, that's going to be the tricky part. I really am looking forward to seeing what the North American model shows as we go through the day. So by tomorrow, we're going to know more. But if I take a look at example, the 12 kilometer, and we go to surface wind and wind speed. So let's see if do we see that northeast flow. There it goes. So the North American model has it happening on Sunday afternoon. Look at that flow coming down to the northeast, right in the Fraser River Valley Gap there. Boom, look at it just ripping across the San Juans there. And this is when it's going to be really wild. You see this little feature here, almost looks like an eddy. Southerly winds, northeasterly winds, low pressure system right off the coast, moisture spreading back across, very cold air aloft, convergent zone, Whidbey Island, Anacortes, Skagit, Whatcom County, Bellingham, San Juans. That's why there's a winter storm watch up. Some of that snow coming back down into the north slope of the Olympic Mountains. The southerlies and the northeasterlies, that's going to be a wild time. There's going to be some convergent zone activity and probably some heavy snowfall and probably some heavy snowfall accumulations as you go on in. That's about Sunday, very late Sunday evening, Sunday night, Monday morning. Look at that. The north winds are starting to wrap back down around, starting to push down into the Puget Sound a little bit with some southerlies still creeping up. Strong convergence at the surface right there. Wicked stuff. But yeah, look at that snow. Just convergent zone right there. Bullseyeing into some of the Olympic Mountains here. It's going to be really interesting to see what some of the high resolution models show at that. And actually, is the European running yet? No, it is not running yet. My taskbar stopped kind of showing up here as well. Let's see. 9/11. So the European is going to start running any minute. I'll try to hold on a little bit here. Just started loading, I'm hearing. What has to happen between now and Sunday to get us more lowland snow? A better placed upper level low would help. That polar lobe, we want that 519, 522, 500 millibar, cold air aloft, perfect track right back down over British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, right here. And funny enough that some of the models have been kind of showing that a little bit. This is close, but it would be better if this blue was about 100, 200 miles east. But still, there's more than one way to get snowfall down here. Yeah, the weather bell here is having some problems with the model runs over the last few days. I use OBS to do my videos. It's I forget even what OBS stands for now, but it allows me to screen record and whatnot. How long have I been nerding out in weather? How long on YouTube? So I've been on YouTube since, what, 2021? Actually, I started this channel right when the big heat wave started in 2021. I actually I founded Pacific Washington Weather Chasers like back in 2016. Then Ben joined, and then I decided I wanted to go bigger, and I dropped out of that. So Ben took over that, and I started my own Pacific Northwest Weather Watch, and that was in 2021. So that's when I started the channel. And I started to get a lot of views that winter in 2021 when we had the pretty active December there. And then, yeah, the channel started just kind of growing organically since then. It was pretty slow growth through 2022, but I had a lot of loyal followers. 2023, it started getting much bigger. And then as we went through 2023, the entire year, just again, the organic growth. And then 2024 was really good. And it's been going pretty well. And now we're getting close to 100,000 subscribers now. And somebody just dropped off. Pamela Keys, did I thank you? Oh, yes. Oh, Des Moines, Washington. Yes. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah. Should we take a look at that? So that is the UW model. I guess since I am friends with some of the students at the Dogcast there at the UW, we might as well look that up. Is this run in right now? Real-time forecast. Boom. Oh. Not yet. Interesting. I guess we're not going to do that. For whatever reason, it's not working. No big deal. We don't need that. We're going to do the European here anyways. Should be loaded anytime now. Let's see. There we go. We got our first set of the 00Z European model. So I'm going to go grab some water. Give me a couple minutes. I'll be right back. Okay, got my water and I am back. So we'll give this a few minutes to load up here, but yeah, we get some fun stuff coming if you guys are just joining. If you haven't been watching, we've got some winter storm watches for some of Pierce, King, Snohomish County, eastern portions, Whatcom County, Bellingham, San Juan's, coastal areas, Forks, just off the water there. Some pretty good snowfall amounts, 2 to 9 inches, winter storm warnings for the higher terrain. Yeah, there's snowfall potential for Kitsap Peninsula here as well. It's going to be kind of a nowcast situation, but the low pressure system is going to be right off the coast. It's going to be spinning precipitation back across the region. There's going to be some east winds at the surface, so there is going to be the potential for some snowfall, you know, for Highway 101 up on just on the other side of the peninsula there, Shelton, Olympia, places like that. And again, you know, Bremerton out there could see snowfall, Seattle Metro. Again, depending on how things line up, there's definitely multiple rounds of snow potential coming in here the next few days. But again, not everybody is going to see a lot of snowfall. Most people will see flakes flying at times. Some people will see big snowfall amounts. Some people moderate, some people light, some people very little. That's how it goes. Even in the biggest Arctic blasts here in the Pacific Northwest, people still get skunked. Sometimes you get caught in a rain or a snow shadow. Or sometimes forecasts just don't turn out that well and they come in a little bit weaker. That's kind of interesting. My forecast, Jackson, Mississippi. Oh, somebody just dropped a big one. Farhan. Here's to 50 degrees in West Skagit. Kidding. I'll take 1 degree. Thank you for the generosity. Farhan, hope I'm pronouncing that right. The reason why I get excited about, yeah, it's just a childlike wonder. I guess I've just always been interested in numbers and I'm very interested in the weather. And I just get very excited about watching a forecast and being able to watch it unfold. And it's something that's so real that, you know, it's not like a video game or anything like that. It's kind of like a real life scenario that you get to see unfold in front of your eyes, and you can get better and better at forecasting, and you can watch the weather and see how certain storms play out. Then you get to, you know, you just kind of get better the more you do it. And it's kind of what I do at my day job at Alaska Airlines. I'm working 20 flights a lot of times, and I'm forecasting for places along the East Coast and Dallas and Southwest and Seattle and Alaska and Hawaii and Mexico and Central America. So I'm doing forecasts all over the place. So I get so much practice at it. And those are high leverage situations. You know, I need to have the forecast correct for my guy flying into Newark. I can't have him be going out there and all of a sudden there's thunderstorms and I didn't tell him about it and I didn't forecast correctly. And he's out there holding and he doesn't have much fuel and he's asking me about it. So it really gives you the motivation to get really good at forecasting, to understand what the models are saying. And I get to use a whole bunch of different tools, and I get to talk with air traffic control, and there's all kinds of different tools that they use, and we get to collaborate with each other. And it's just very interesting. It makes it very fun. So I do enjoy that. And that's probably where the childlike wonder comes from. And then since I live in the Pacific Northwest, I get even more involved in it. And then now that I work at Alaska Airlines, and it's such a high impact, oh my goodness, you can't imagine unless you actually work for the airline just how crippling even an inch of snowfall can be. I mean, we had a day where we collected 1/10 of an inch, and it was just mayhem because it was sticking on the plane wings, and it was just kind of off and on, and just kind of a mess. And you're trying to de-ice these planes and stuff, and it just becomes such a huge deal that I'm really cautious with any kind of snow showers moving around SeaTac Airport or Portland for that example. I mean, a lot of times there's a freezing rain event coming for Portland and we're scrambling around and it's like, how sure are we that this is going to happen? And I got people coming up to me asking, you know, what's going to go on with this freezing rain event? Do we need to bring planes up to Seattle and overnight them here? Do we need to fly them down to the Bay Area? What should we do? And so, yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I mean, I've had it ever since I can remember anything. As soon as I've been able to speak, I've been into the weather. I've just always been that way. I can remember specific dates and times. I can remember seeing thunder snow in 1980. I can remember seeing my first cloud to ground lightning strike in 1981. July 31st was the date. So I remember all those dates. I don't know. It's just something that always sticks with me. So that's where my wonder comes of the weather. I keep forgetting to check this too. Check it out. We got winter weather advisories for all kinds of portions of eastern Washington as well. Let's take a look here. All the way on in through, let's see. This is just through 10 a.m. So, okay, here we go. Yeah, so this is the initial precipitation. Mixed precipitation, total snow up to 2 inches. Ice accumulations around light glaze to 1/10 of an inch. That's what some of the models were showing as well. I mentioned that the last couple of days. So this is through tomorrow morning from 10 p.m. tonight. So this is just about to get going here. This is the rainfall falling happening for Seattle right now as this moves over there. Could be some frozen precipitation out there, so be careful. Ritzville, Harrington, Freda, Moses Lake, Othello. So yeah, dust devil country out there. Be ready for the winter weather rolling in. Derek Jarvis, thank you for the generosity. How does the AI compare to the regular Euro? Great job, dude. Love the channel. Thank you very much. So I know Garrett was showing some verification scores, and it looked like the European artificial intelligence, at least when I was looking on the European page, it was doing better than the European model at 500 millibars. So when you look at the upper levels of the atmosphere, it's doing better with the placement of these ridges and troughs at 500 millibars, the European artificial intelligence. But it's still kind of in its early stages. And I've seen some discrepancy in some of the scores. And I noticed that sometimes it seems like the European ensemble was doing a little bit better and the deterministic was kind of sniffing some things out that it wasn't. So we're still kind of in wait and see mode, but according to the European, it is better than the European deterministic run. And I'm still trying to learn about it, exactly how they process all of that data here. And I was going to do a video on it, but I'm still trying to learn about it right now. So I don't want to speak too much on that. But it has been performing pretty well. It's been performing pretty well, I hear, with tropical cyclones also. So it does have some benefits. And it's probably, you know, part of the future of weather forecasting, no doubt. See a lot of snowflakes coming in here. That's a good thing. I see a deleted message. What's going on there? Looks like somebody booted him. Thanks for that. I think that was one of my moderators. And we're watching the European load real time here. So we're 2 hours into this live stream. And since we're here, we're going to watch this thing roll in. What I like to do is, Wendy Garish, thank you for the generosity. It's letting me respond to people now. I like this. Okay, I got some people chiming in. But what I like to do is I'll go to, let's go to Northwest. And we'll compare it versus like another model run. It's always fun to watch the European versus itself and see what kind of changes start to emerge. It's funny how Weather Bell will all of a sudden go from like 42 to 57 as things are coming in. But so then you look at little tiny changes. There's the 519 line a little bit further off to the south and east. That's a good thing. The 540 line is very similar. So it's pretty similar there so far. Your 7-year-old nephew is watching videos. He's getting super into weather now. Awesome. Yeah, we need more meteorologists. It's a good life too. Snow in Hillsborough, or is it snow? It's not snowing in Hillsborough, is it right now? I used to work in the tower at Hillsborough, the air traffic control tower there. I used to do the National Weather Service observations there. That was kind of interesting. Yeah, the news is really picking up on the snow event here. I've definitely been hearing it all over like the local weather channels. It's really crazy. Anybody who's been around as long as I have across the Pacific Northwest, you remember how there was Como, King 5, and Cairo, and like Channel 13 news. And you know, you had to basically wait. There was no internet back there, so you couldn't like watch the models come in. So you had to wait for Jeff Renner and Steve Poole and Harry Wappler. So if anybody knows those, you know, remembers those days, shout out. You'd have to watch like the 5 o'clock, then the 11 o'clock weather, and you'd wake up and watch the 7 o'clock weather, and that's how you'd kind of get your weather, or you'd read the newspaper or things like that. And now we have all this information right at our fingertips, and so many people with the information, and most of them are good-willed and whatnot, but you know, it does lead to some misinformation online because a lot of people don't quite fully understand what they're seeing, so it can be kind of difficult for them to parse things, and they see polar lobes moving around and they don't quite know what they mean. But you know, they're not bad people or anything. It's just a lot of people saying a lot of different things. And wow, Tesla and truck, thanks for the generosity. We had the best trip in Oahu thanks to your weather reports, which days to avoid outdoor activity. Many thanks. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Oahu. I love it out there in Hawaii. They had some pretty interesting weather rolling around there today as well. They had like water spout warnings for the coastline, so you must already be back here in the Pacific Northwest. But no, that's awesome. Showing our age. Steve Poole, yes, too bad. JP Patches, I actually remember that too. Yeah, Harry Wappler was one of the he was probably the most underrated one. He was really good. He really understood the weather. So did Jeff Renner. Rich Marriott is another really good one. I've been watching Rich Marriott since the 80s. I can remember watching Jeff Renner and Rich Marriott November 1985. My goodness, it's almost 40 years ago. That's insane. And I can remember just hearing about, yeah, we want that low pressure right off of Astoria here as this low pressure comes down and blah, blah, blah. And it was actually pretty well forecast. I remember them talking about it at least a couple days before. And man, that storm hit hard in November 1995. It kept us out of school for several days. Oh yeah, Big Island volcano. I was out there first part of the new year. That was pretty fun. It's been erupting off and on also. Well, it's best to get your degree in meteorology. I see that question there. I was going down that road to work for the National Weather Service, but then I became a flight dispatcher. And so I had weather knowledge. I'd worked previously for the National Weather Service. And so then I jumped into flight dispatch, which is heavily involved in meteorology as well. So my meteorology background kind of helped out with that. But then I started back up to try to get my meteorology degree, but stuff kept happening at work, including like the early passing of one of the directors here that was trying to get me back into my degree. He died of an aneurysm just really suddenly. So that just really threw everything into a hold. And another director that was also supporting me got fired when the company went through a bunch of cuts. And so it was kind of tough. I was on my way to go back to get my degree, even though a lot of people, they'll tell me I don't really need it, but at the same time, I would like to finish it up. But it's just kind of like, I don't know what the point is at this point. I'm already pretty well established at Alaska Airlines and whatnot. And there's no real reason for me to need to do that. But I would highly suggest anybody getting into the field now, you're going to want to get your degree. It's a good thing to have. Get your degree. You can still then become an air traffic controller, or you can be a flight dispatcher, and your degree will just absolutely launch you through there. And then you can become a National Weather Service forecaster, or maybe work for private industry. It just can lead to a very good, life. And then when you're going to college, you might find something else you like as well. So anyway, highly recommend to get your degree. Okay, so let's take a look here. Let's compare it to something here. Let's look at the 12Z. Well, the 519 line is a little bit better. And this kind of looks like what the GFS did here as well. This kind of gets getting cut off a bit more of a closed low. It's a little bit less closed. So we're at hour 87 right there. It is deeper. I'm always looking for these subtle differences. Where's that 540 line? It's pretty close, maybe just about the exact same. And again, this colder air aloft, the more of this blue that gets down over you, the more that snow level is going to get down towards the surface. And then you want this to really get down here, though. You want it to get down here. If you're in Seattle, you want to get just south of you. If you're in the Willamette Valley, you want to get right on top of you there as well. You want these north winds to start coming through, and you want that short track of that cold Arctic air off of the western British Columbia coastline back into Washington and Oregon. Short track, a little bit of time for it to moderate, just enough for it to pick up some moisture and some instability, a little bit of convection in there, and can really dump some heavy snowfall back into the region. So these are good uptrends here. This is nice. Garrett Hartung chiming in here. Garrett is a meteorologist down in the Portland region. 0Z European is so far colder than the previous run. That's very good. Weather training when I was a wildland firefighter. That sounds like fun also. It gets really weather centric. Once you get into engine boss, crew boss training. Yeah, there's a lot of jobs that you're really surprised. I mean, meteorology is a huge part of a lot of different jobs. And even at Alaska Airlines, you need to have some kind of degree to become a flight dispatcher, a flight controller. Like my job, you need to have a degree. It doesn't have to be in meteorology. It really helps if it's in meteorology or some kind of science program maybe. And we still hire dispatchers right now. We've hired, since I've been there for 17 years, we've hired like 80, 90 people now. JBLM has a chance for snow. Virtually every place here across Pacific Northwest has the chance for snow coming up. Brian Hicks upgraded membership to top weather supporter. It just depends on when your turn is coming. And right now we're trying to figure out what the European is saying here. So let's just let that update. We're going to get something new. Man, look at this. The European is switching things up. What is going on here? So the 522 line here is widely noted. What is going on? This is better. I mean, even though this drops a bit further south, this is good. This is a little bit further inland here. Stronger. And definitely less of a closed low. This is crazy. This is just kind of refreshing here as we go. Let me refresh that and we'll try to bring that back here. We'll play that through and we'll compare it to what was going on this morning. I forgot what I was talking about there for a second. Uh-oh. Did that kick offline there, you guys? Or was that just something that glitched on my computer? It looked like it tried to kick offline. Yeah, that's a much stronger polar lobe here. Yeah, that's kind of the sign when you know things are going to probably be better than what you're forecasting is when you get these late stage upgrades. Because that's getting close to being, yeah, that's not a bad look. It's definitely better than what was showing this morning here. Okay, so now let's take a look at this. Let's go ahead and go to multi-parameter. And again, as we go through Saturday morning, trying to change this over to snow, north of Seattle, Everett, Arlington, Anacortes. And this is probably some kind of effect with the Puget Sound there. But yeah, as we go on in through the Saturday night, Sunday morning time period, man, Southwest BC is under the gun. Convection. Look at some of these heavy snows going on. My goodness. Coming across the Seattle Metro with some light snow. We scroll on into Monday and look at this. Got snow showers going on. Temperatures no doubt going to be dropping down. And then you can see this upper level low is still around, still spreading precipitation. Maybe the Willamette Valley will get some measurable snowfall there as you go through Tuesday night into Wednesday. It jumped ahead pretty good amount right there. But that's the problem with watching the model runs come in like this, because you'll see them just make these wild jumps, like from 117 to 132. You can't see what's going on in between. But also, let's look at what's coming tomorrow, because this is what the National Weather Service is talking about as we go through tonight and tomorrow. Little bit of freezing rain is possible here with this initial precipitation. Some snow towards Spokane. And then it looks like it changes over to rain a bit here as we go on in through Saturday morning. But then the colder air arrives and you start to see some of these snow bands near Spokane again as you go on in through Sunday morning. But now the atmospheric river, let's take a look at that. This is pouring into California. It rides up across eastern Oregon. And again, a prolonged period of some very heavy snowfall. Eastern Oregon, higher terrain, Idaho, western Montana, bounces back up into southeast Washington. So yeah, some very dynamic snowfall east of the mountains as well. It's the Pacific moisture, plume, atmospheric river. Man, Arctic air mass right there. That is going to be some dynamic stuff. Maybe I should travel out to Montana. It's considered the Pacific Northwest, right? Because that's going to be kind of wild. Yellowstone's going to get some big snows out there. Okay, what did I miss here? Checking out the chat. Poulsbo, yeah, I mean, there is definitely a chance for some snow on Monday in Poulsbo. You might have to tip your delivery driver. I wish I knew more on how they work, though. Yeah, that's a good, this is a good sign for lowland snow. I mean, you can see where we are with Wednesday morning here. You still got precipitation ongoing. And if I bounce to the temperatures here, oh, let's just take a look at this. Let's just look at surface wind. You don't even need to look. You got the east winds trying to come through here down in towards the Puget Sound, Fraser River. Surface lows right there. Yeah, I hate how it jumps around so much though as we go. So the winds stop being southerly at some point on Monday morning up the Puget Sound. But again, we're going to look at this here really quick because I want to make sure to cover all bases as we go to Seattle. I know I talked about this once earlier, but I want to look at the timing of the Fraser River outflow. Fraser. So Sunday evening, it starts roaring there. Sunday night. But look at this. I mean, you don't have to be a meteorologist to look at this and know that these southerlies and these northeasterlies are going to be clashing. And the air aloft is extremely cold. You're going to be tapping that air. You're going to be bringing the snowball down to the surface. You're going to be getting measurable snow across the San Juans. That might not be a bad snow chase place either. That's going to be some interesting convergent zone activity there. And then you see the north winds ripping across the strait. South winds here. Look at this little eddy feature here as these winds just kind of circle back around. Probably some intense convergent zone snowfall going on in this general vicinity. And then look at this. We start to shift this back down out of the north. And look at this. You got southeasterlies here across Des Moines. And just to the north across Seattle, you got out of the northwest. There might be some convergent zone activity here. Southerlies are gone at this point. Northerlies come swooping down the Puget Sound, kind of a modified Arctic air mass there on Tuesday at 03Z. So let's look at 03Z Tuesday. And I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of modified snow event that's going to come down the Central Sound at that point, or maybe in advance of it, maybe right there. These lower resolution models have a hard time picking up that stuff. So I'm not putting too much stock because you can see some of that precipitation there. Now, as we scroll back in towards Wednesday morning, some of that precipitation starts to ride back up. And at this point, it's going to be cold enough for all this to be snow, probably down to the surface. That could drop another couple inches maybe across some of the Puget Sound here as well. And then we'll have to scroll off into the future and see what's to come next. But yeah, some really interesting stuff here going on as we go through Saturday night into Sunday morning, Sunday night into Monday with just convergent zone activity, shifting winds, all kinds of good stuff. Making sure I said thanks to everybody who's done a super chat here. My closest neighbor on Camino is the weather radar. Indeed. Yeah, you got the Doppler radar right there. I see the Oklahoma. Somebody came from Oklahoma. Yeah, I like to go out there storm chasing all the time. And yeah, Eastern Oregon, man. Atmospheric river. This is going to be really interesting here. Look at that bounce back across Eastern Oregon. That could be big time for like Bend and Pendleton, the Blue Mountains. And really the Siskiyous could just get absolutely slammed with snowfall here, especially as you go on into Sunday morning, Sunday night, Monday morning. My goodness, there could be freezing rain on the south side of that. And just look at these 3-hour chunks with this atmospheric river east of the mountains. My goodness. This is going to be a high-end snow event there. Eastern Oregon, Idaho, and some of this is going to be coming up back into southeast Washington, western Montana. And we got our own deal going on here west of the Cascades as well. So yeah, I mean, look at these snow showers around as you go through Tuesday and Wednesday, western Oregon. You're going to have your chance here too. Things just sitting there. It's not moving much. And then this is kind of what the Europeans been hinting at a little bit as well. Look at this weak low pressure. I've seen these after we get some Arctic air into the region. These northwesterlies are very sneaky. Sometimes these come down and they drop an inch of light fluffy snow when it's cold, and it can be quite disruptive out there. It just recoats everything. And yeah, look at that. The Europeans been hinting at that as we go through next week. Would you say this is the most imperfect, perfect? Yeah, that's a good way to describe it exactly. North Olympic Peninsula weather. That's a very good way to describe it because it's not the perfect classic track polar lobe, but it's still a polar lobe and it's very close. And there's Arctic air that's going to be nearby. So it's going to be a very tricky forecast for sure. It's the most imperfect, perfect setup. That's a good way to say it. Oh, let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the pressure too. I do want to look at this. So this system initially is riding in, as we speak now, you can see the low pressure coming through. It's going to be a little blustery tomorrow for some areas. Westerly surge down the Strait of Juan de Fuca. And then that is on the leading edge of the Arctic ice. See how that thing slithers on by there like a snake? And then look at the Arctic high. That's that Arctic air slamming down into southern BC. And now a big thing at what meteorologists look at to see what is going on with the sea level pressure differences in the gradient Bellingham to Williams Lake in the interior British Columbia here. This can tell you how strong that Fraser River outflow is going to be and how strong some of that cold air push will be as well. So if we go through Tuesday morning, you can kind of see what are we looking at here. We're looking at the 10-12 line right there across Bellingham. Then you look and you see 1032 right there. So we're probably looking maybe 20 millibars. That's a pretty good gradient that could be bringing in some very, once you get to 20, you can get some strong winds that can start to cause some damage there. The upper epic events are near 24, 25 millibars. So this is still a pretty good Arctic push coming down into some portions. A lot of chat coming through here. Sorry I can't answer all the questions, you guys. But man, you can really see the battleground that's going on here, folks. I mean, on in through early next week. Look at this low pressure system. This is a bitterly cold Arctic air mass. Pacific atmospheric river is going to be meeting that Arctic air mass. It's just going to be wringing it dry and just dropping huge amounts across eastern Oregon, Idaho, Montana. And some of this has the potential to come back up into Washington, even back up towards the Puget Sound at times, depending on how this comes in and just how cold we get. So yeah, this is going to be wild. If I take a look at the surface temperature, Fahrenheit anomaly, I mean, look at this. Across the Idaho-Montana border near Yellowstone, on Tuesday afternoon, you're 14 degrees above average. You go a little bit north and you're 35 degrees below. It's insanity. -5 Fahrenheit, 36 Fahrenheit, over 40 degree difference, just over a short drive. Potent Arctic boundary right there across Southwest. That's just insane. And look how it's just hung up there too. My goodness. Yeah, that's where the Rocky Mountains are. And then you got this atmospheric river kind of slamming in here. Whoo. So let's do this. Let's take a look at, you want to really get people hyped up. This is how you troll people right here. I'll only show you this one. So let's take a look here. Look at some of the snowfall maps. You put a 10-to-1 snowfall ratio map out there and it can get kind of crazy. You're just like looking and everybody's like, oh, I'm going to get a foot of snow. But some huge amounts out there, no doubt. Better way to show that, though, is by snow depth. And I don't like to show snow maps that much, honestly, because let me do this. I guess the best way to explain that is that once you cool things down, you got an upper level low around, it doesn't take much at all. It only takes another couple tenths of an inch to really skew some of these numbers and to really bring better snowfall amounts into the Seattle Metro or something like that. And then again, you can see from Tacoma down the I-5 corridor, you're talking about 2, 3, 4 inches of snowfall. That's a lot of snow. That's disruptive. And some of the higher terrain, as you go across Highway 12 out to the coastal areas and just away from the water, there's amounts showing up, 7, 8, 9+ inches. Forks, maybe Hopefully I'm getting some decent amounts. Aberdeen. As you go through Highway 101 there, you're going to be dealing with quite a bit of snowfall. Olympic Mountain's a huge dusting. And look at the Kitsap Peninsula. Those are healthy amounts out there. Olympia, you're talking 4 or 5 inches potentially. And again, this is going to be skewed. There's going to be some of these areas is definitely going to overperform for. I'm very certain of that. And you can kind of see that's just showing the snow depth there at Paradise. It looks like 273 inches. So that's not what is falling in the upcoming amount. So if you look at snow depth change, that's a little bit better. And even that, 3.4 inches for SeaTac, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Portland, you're getting measurable snowfall up over 1/2 foot there. There's going to be, you got to check back daily. You just got to check back daily. There's no way I can just round this up and tell you what you're going to get over the next time period here. But yeah, it's going to be crazy because there's additional rounds potentially coming, later on. You can kind of see that as we're scrolling off through fantasy portions of the forecast there as well. So yeah. But yeah, this is snow depth change. These are not inflated numbers. This is what the European thinks is actually going to be on the ground at this point. This includes melting and things like that. Now, where you want to troll somebody is you click the 10-to-1 ratio, and then you look at this ridiculousness, and you're like, and people are like, I'm going to get a foot in Shelton, or I'm going to get 2 feet there on Highway 101. It's like, so you don't pay attention to the 10-to-1 maps. Kuchera ratio, a little bit more accurate. Snow depth. And then snow depth change is the one you want to see. There are chances that your flight on Monday from SeaTac could be canceled. Call ahead. If there's precipitation ongoing or it's forecast, call ahead. You don't want to be sitting at the airport all day if you don't have to. Lots of flight delays and cancellations. Like I mentioned about a half an hour ago, we had December 2022, we had like 1/10 of an inch one of the days, and it was just causing chaos because it was just these light snow showers and mixed with rain. It was just enough to stick on the plane wings, and you got to de-ice the plane because you cannot take off with the contamination on the wing of the plane. It changes the aerodynamics on the wing, and you cannot do that. And it gets really disruptive really fast. Still 940 people watching. Thanks everybody for stopping by so far. What else do we have rolling in here that we can watch? I want to click on Spokane here really quick as well. Up to 2 inches there through 1 p.m. on Friday. It does include Spokane Valley, Rockford, Moscow, Airway Heights. Let me see what they're saying out here. Arctic air intrusion. There we go. That's the one I showed. I think I showed that today. 50% heavy snow. There's just going to be this crazy battleground there. Butte, Montana. Possibly including Missoula. Down towards Yellowstone. Big John 888. Love your videos. Thanks for all you do and keeping it real. Thank you very much for your generosity. Good night, Belinda Dune. Yeah, I'm just going to wrap things up here. We'll see what's going on. I did mention this as well. You can kind of see we do have that La Nina look at things across the central Pacific Ocean. We're starting to get some new upwelling there. That just happened over the last few days. In fact, I'm going to go back here and we're going to do 7-day animation if we have it. 30. I thought we had a 7-day. No, I guess, no, there it is. 7-day trend. You can see that cooler water there coming up off the coast of South America, upwelling. Kind of a mixed signal there of what's been going on in the last 7 days. Let me back that up. I guess we don't have 30-day animation only. Is that an animation? There we go. So you kind of see not too much change, kind of the off and on, hot and cold. But you see, so yeah, this is kind of a La Nina. I think we're going to probably end up with a weak La Nina out of this. Yeah, that's where we are now. Yeah, so you can see it is our turn here across Pacific Northwest. I also do want to kind of call attention to this for California. I know I've mentioned California a few times here, but look at the widespread flood watch. Sacramento Valley, Bay Area, foothills, big time snow coming for some of the Sierra Nevada. This is just through Sunday. I mean, look at some of the amounts. Blue Canyon, 10 inches. Out of control. And what is going on in Maui still? We're still only a special marine. Man, I should have been paying more attention down there. Kevin Hendrickson, thank you very much, sir. Do you have an experience with snow socks? I don't with snow. I've seen those. I have not done them, though. Are they good? I know chains work fairly well, but they're kind of clunky and a little bit weird sometimes. But so, yeah, no, I have not used snow socks before. If anybody has used snow socks, please speak now. I am kind of curious in that also. Yes, Jetstream as well. Yeah, Ryan Voltalainen is follow him on Facebook and on Twitter. He's an exceptional communicator. He's an excellent finder of information, which is a very good skill to have. You can see his name there, Voutiliainen, Ryan Voltalainen. Man, look at Molokai and Maui are just getting hammered. I used to work at Island Air. I was a flight controller, flight dispatcher for Island Air in Hawaii, then Hawaiian Airlines, and I do not miss days like this. Oh my gosh. It just gets absolutely crazy. When you switch the wind direction and you got thunderstorms moving, it is hard to land planes in this stuff. A lot of lightning across Maui, off the coastal waters, Molokai. That's just absolutely crazy. Look at that frontal system. My goodness. Flood advisories, flood warnings in effect. They don't hold up. Use good change. YouTube test says so. So I hope Kevin saw that there. My dad used them. He says impressed. Good for emergency. Okay, for maybe good for emergency, but not long-term use. Is that the consensus we're reaching here? They are good, but they are recommended over chains for Subarus. Okay, so snow socks. Okay, I see one-time use item. Chains are way better. Okay. Yeah, what a frontal system in Hawaii. My goodness. Okay, so back to the Pacific Northwest here. Let's see what's going on. We got some moderate rain out there. Not as exciting as Hawaii, but you can see the Doppler radar there, Portland. You see that beam, that slice there? That beam is hitting something. It looks like it's hitting Mount St. Helens right there, I believe that is. And so the beam, of course, can't pass through the mountain, and you get this radar. It's known as radar attenuation. And you can kind of see it coming off of Mount Hood there as well. If I scroll down there, see that blockage by Mount Hood? And that's probably Mount Adams doing that one right there. Stuff that you can learn with Doppler radars. And you can see also the attenuation as it passes through the coastal range. See these little slices? Looks like little slices there as the Doppler radar can't, of course, see through mountains. So you get that attenuation there on the radar. That's something I love being in the cockpit for. I flew in with some severe thunderstorm activity going on in Omaha, Nebraska last year. I was in the cockpit, and it's just amazing watching the Doppler radar work and watching the pilots just control the airplane with heavy rain and lightning all around and everything. And you know, it's pretty nerve-wracking doing that, but it's very interesting to watch it. But yeah, there's a little Doppler 101 for you. Sometimes when you're watching Doppler radars, you can even see like traffic moving across the interstates. You can see it running into a train. It'll pick up insects, birds, bats, all kinds of crazy stuff. I mean, it's just picking up things in the atmosphere. And you can also change the tilt on these beams as well. You can see tilt 1. I can go to tilt 2 all the way to tilt 4. If you go to tilt 4, it kind of points up higher, so you're only seeing things closer to the Doppler radar there, for example. So there's a little Doppler radar 101 for you. Actually, let's check out Pendleton, see is any of that. It's starting to get out here. Might be some freezing drizzle. Maybe starting for eastern Washington. Eastern Oregon. Yeah, that might be, if that's getting down to the surface, that might be a little frozen stuff. Well, it's going to turn colder as you go through Monday and Tuesday for the Central Sound. But again, check back because I'll be going over that in some great detail tomorrow too. Check back daily because you're going to want to know every individual forecast. Because if you take nothing else from what we were looking at today, remember this. If we look at tonight's upper level, oh, I was going to look at here. Well, look at this. Take anything from tonight's live stream is that the forecasts are still changing. The polar lobe trended a bit stronger here with the European model tonight. That's getting very close. Man, if you put that right over Western Washington here, that really allows that upper level low to really just unleash its fury. But it's kind of close. Excuse me a little. It's close. That's pretty close. Not a high-end Arctic event outbreak there, but it's getting close. And then with it pinwheeling off the coastline like this, then it's just who knows what is going to happen. How much moisture is this going to tap? How much cold air spills out? Some areas are going to get more than others, but I think that most people will see snowfall at times. How much are you going to get? Much more of a question of your elevation and your individual location. Thanks for the SOX responses. Sounds accurate. Good to know that. Yeah, that is very good information to know. Okay, we're going on 3 hours here, so I better wrap up the live stream. I still have a few things I got to do before I go to bed. But thanks everybody for joining the live chat here. I may just live stream again tomorrow. I mean, just because I want to get as much information out as I can about this upcoming event. I'll do my normal briefing tomorrow. I'll either do 2 videos or I'll do a briefing in the morning and I will do a live stream at night. So I hope you guys can join for that. Again, thanks everyone. Trending a little bit colder. We're getting more confidence here in the cold weather moving in. And there's snowfall potential for much of the Pacific Northwest, heavy at times as we go on in through next week. So be sure to check back in tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Western Washington weather. Matthew, Fab, and Ryan. There we go. Yeah, click subscribe if you guys haven't already. That's a good idea. All right. Yep. Good night, everybody. I will talk to you in the morning tomorrow.